What a busy day of SEC baseball from Baum Walker Stadium. A couple of games in this series already in the books, including the first of our doubleheader. The fans have exited, coming right back into Baum Walker Stadium, ready to see the Texas A&M Aggies and Arkansas Razorbacks play for the series dub. Let's bring you up to the booth. Aloha, Brett Dolan, Troy Eklund. Thanks again for joining us. Arkansas had to come from behind in game two, but my goodness, they found the power once again.
Boy, they really did. The home run stroke really showed up for the Hogs. That offense really clicked in game two.
No surprise, the man who kind of led things off with the long ball, Vahiva Aloha. He's usually in the middle of it.
Boy, he really is. He uncorked on that one, almost 450 feet into the hog pen. But the guy that was really on fire was Justin Thomas Jr. Don't blink, but those two were almost hit in the same exact spot, Brett.
Indeed, they were. A two-homer game for JTJ, and then Gabe Gackle was really good, coming on in relief.
Boy, he really was. The slider cutter was really working for him. How about a great job by Gackle? He threw 5 2/3 innings, only gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 8 punch-outs, and only 2 walks.
Gackle earned the win as Arkansas took the game by a score of 11-5, and now starting game 2 of the doubleheader, 3 of the series, is Landon Beidelshees.
Yeah, Beidelshees is coming off 2 days less rest, so this is a 5-day turnaround for Landon Beidelshees. You might see Arkansas maybe only throw him about 50 pitches. He's done it once before in the Big Ten championship game against Nebraska, Brett.
Lineup he will face for these fighting Texas Aggies: Kill, Lavalette, Hensler the top 3, Sorrell back in that cleanup spot. Jamal George will be in left, though, batting 9th here in the second game of this twin bill. We're starting about a half hour later than we anticipated. There was a little bit of weather on the radar. We got a few sprinkles, but nothing really crazy. I don't know if this is a long game, whether we'll be able to say the same at the end. Temperatures about the same, 75 degrees. Wind's not as strong.
Yeah, I think that it looks like the wind is blowing a little bit. It's still a little bit of a crosswind, but more blowing out to left. But it's probably about half. It's maybe about 5 to 10 miles an hour, so it's going to be a big difference.
Very well may be. That one fouled back and out of play.
With the power of these two teams, the home runs they hit through the wind, especially Jace Laviolette, this could be a high-scoring game.
Beidelshees gets the wave and a miss.
Well, off the short rest, Beidelshees' fastball, how about 95 on that last pitch?
You mentioned that against Nebraska in that Big Ten tournament, he pitched on 5 days rest. It was one of the reasons why Arkansas wanted to bring him in. They watched that video, that tape. High fly to playable left. I say that, and Davidon has a long run to get there, and he's underneath it to make the catch for the first down. Beidelshees of Georgia went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 4 runs, only a walk, 6 strikeouts. Before that, he pitched 4 innings against Mizzou, 5 innings against Vandy, and 5 innings against South Carolina. Has given up 9 home runs. The 9 homers, at times I think he's given up some solo shots and whatnot, but still trying to keep the ball in the park. And this is Laviolette, a man that you would try and do just that against, because he has homered in both games so far in this series.
Yeah, I don't think that surprises anyone with the 13. I think I would be shocked if he doesn't get to 20 for the season.
Speaking of which, that ball's absolutely annihilated. Will it clear the scoreboard in right center? High up and gone, nearly near the Baum Walker. So Laviolette has homered in all 3 games of this series. That is 14 on the season. Again, he is the active home run leader in college baseball.
I mean, his ability to go down and kind of get into those legs and drive that baseball is exceptional. Watch him really get down in those legs right there, go down and get that baseball and just absolutely tattoo it. How about 109 off the bat, about 400 feet on that home run.
So A&M has scored in the top of the first in every game so far in this series. Here's Wyatt Hensler. He also homered. That was in game 1. Collected a couple of hits in total.
Well, it looks like the key for Arkansas pitching is just make sure nobody's on when Laviolette comes up.
Arkansas had a 5-inning perfect game in softball. They played 2 that was scheduled today against Colorado State. Wave and a miss.
Played a little out of conference on the weekend, huh?
Yeah, there's one less softball playing program in the SEC than baseball. Vandy doesn't have softball, so somebody's always thrown out of conference play. Vital Shoes will wind and pitch, and the 2-1 nearly clipped that elbow of Hensel. And he's been hit a few times this year to the tune of 16.
Wow. That is a lot.
He and Pepe for their career are about 110 combined between that duo. He's going to find his way back and out of play to the right. It can be hard to win a doubleheader just because of the randomness of a game. Certainly A&M got off to a good start in this series by winning last night 7-4. But if Texas A&M leaves town having won 2 of 3, it'll be a big weekend again. There's a wave and a miss by Hensler. Down on strikes, and the 2 gone in the top of the first.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think anytime you can go on the road and win 2 of 3, or even at home and win 2 of 3, it's a big deal. The punch out on the breaking ball right there by Landon Beidelshees.
Caden Sorrell played in right in game 1. He's the DH in the second contest. Big wave and a miss. He tried to yank. Ohio State had a coaching change, and Beidelshees went in the portal. He committed before Zach Root. There's the breaking ball again. Bahiva Loy said before the season that he kind of hides the baseball well. Not going to be overpowering. There's certainly good velocity there, but that's an element to his arsenal. A preseason all-second-team SEC performer even before he pitched in a game for Arkansas. Two-strike pitch is high. So each of the first 2 years, his earned run average was exactly 4.15. Entering play today, it was at 4.24. So like Aloy's home runs have been similar for 3 straight years, so is the ERA. Soft little liner which will carry right to Iredale, and the inning ends. Laviolette has the homer to put A&M in front, and the Razorbacks coming into bat.
Contact one of our local business specialists at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America.
That's infected. Maybe getting a tattoo at a 3-day music festival was a bad idea. Lucky for you, an Amazon One medical virtual visit can happen anywhere. Even here. An Amazon pharmacy will deliver antibiotics right to you. So you can breathe easy. Well, sorta.
This is my Oak Lawn.
Guess what? Another left-hander in this series. This is Miles Patton, the Long Beach, California native. He's got a little bit of funk to him.
Yeah, he really does. A little unusual delivery there. The junior 6'3", 205. True 4-pitch mixed guy. He'll throw the fastball, slider, cutter, and change. 3/4 kind of a release type guy. Again, a little hesitation in that motion. Here's something that jumps out at me. Right-handers are only hitting 221 against him, and lefties hitting 327. And Arkansas still goes with a pretty heavy right-handed lineup again today.
Yeah, interesting. Only those 9 walks as well for Miles Patton. Arkansas's lineup. No surprise, Davion Aloy, Maxwell the top 3. Maxwell, though, did not start our previous game. Kahil Aloy, the DH. Kozel back to the 5-hole. Iredale at third base, then Pepe again at first. Helfrich bats eighth. Justin Thomas Jr., that assassin out of the 9-hole, rounds out the starting lineup. Miles Patton coming off an outing against South Carolina where he did give up 7 runs in 4 innings. 2 starts ago against Kentucky gave up 7 runs in 4 innings. Over his last 3, he's given up 17.
I was about to say, Brad, usually when you see a lefty have a lot of success against right-handers, it means they've got a really good changeup. We've seen the Aggie starters and all pitchers really throw that off-speed pitch exceptionally well this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a theme, to say the least. Couple of hits for Davalon, so both he and Vahiva Aloy have 64 apiece to lead the SEC, and that's a good beginning to the bottom of the first for Miles Patton.
You always wonder when the first time that a pitcher did something kind of quirky with their motion. You know, you just think about, okay, I'm just going to have this like little double clutch as I take my hands behind my head.
Like a pump fake in basketball.
Exactly.
I'm going to get my defender in the air, I'm going to lean into him, and I'm going to throw it up wildly and shoot 3 free throws. Sometimes you just simply say, well, he's left-handed. Makes a little more sense that way. Davalon slices one of the air to left center. Laviolette plays deep, and he covers a lot of ground, and he'll make the catch. He's generous with the eye black, isn't he, Laviolette?
Yeah, he is. He definitely is going to go through a tube or a can or whatever, however they carry the eye black these days. Used to be like in a stick back in my time.
Yeah, he got have to be hosed down. He's from Katy in the western suburbs in Houston. And Arkansas has about 4 or 5 softball players from that same area, from Katy. Vahiva Aloy has gone 5 for 9 with a couple of home runs and 4 batted in the 2 games so far in this series. And what he has also done now is homer in 4 straight games.
Yeah, that's somebody that's really hot. And again, almost more than the hits is I really watch the takes. And when you see a guy that's seen the baseball well, especially those borderline pitches, they really don't even flinch at him because almost out of the hand, a third of the way to the plate, they've always already decided in their mind that pitch is not going to be a strike.
He's not jumpy, that's
no.
for sure. Gets up on that left toe and just let one eat. Not sure if that was the true fastball, maybe a little bit of a sinker action on it.
Yeah, just a few miles an hour less. Patton has hit 90 with the fastball. That was about 88.
I think that might have been the sink. Hey, just hit them where they ain't. Sometimes you hit a ball 110 miles an hour, and sometimes you hit it about 84. But you'll take the hit, will Vahiva Aloy.
Yeah, not afraid to let this ball travel deep. Jammed him a little bit, but he just shot it right through that hole. It's a 16 hopper.
I was going to say, how many bounces did that one
was
have in it?
Like somebody skipping a rock across a pond.
Logan Maxwell's numbers have really been good. I know that hamstring, and you see him there with the 9 homers. High batting average. That hamstring has just been a little bit of an issue at times, and I know Arkansas has had several outfielders. I think Kendall Diggs has had some pretty good at-bats as of late, but hasn't been in that regular lineup. It's given DVH a chance to mix and match just a little. Maxwell began this weekend 11th in the conference in batting average, so you certainly can't forget about him. 10th in on base. SEC only games, he had the 4th best batting average. So, you know, in another year, you might look at this guy and say, well, you're not going to let Maxwell beat you. But with Aloy's both in front and behind and Kojal and whatnot, it's a lot to contend with. He's down here 0-2 and takes one up and in.
Yeah, he's having a really good year. And again, another guy that really, like a lot of the left-hand hitters for Arkansas, really use the whole field. You think about Davalon, Kojal, Maxwell's right there in that conversation about not afraid to shoot that ball out to left.
6 of his 9 home runs have come in league-only games. Arkansas has trailed in all 3 games. Last weekend at Georgia, they were down by 3 runs in all 3 games. That's down the chute. Strike 3 call. He must have been sitting on something else.
Yeah, that was a fastball that was belt high that split the plate.
Maybe he saw that up.
Maybe a little bit, but that's way too close to take.
Yes. Kuhio kind of flirting with that 400 number at 393. Three more base hits in game 1, all singles. Bounced into a double play in his last at bat.
Brett, it seems like the Cahillo's really starting to see the breaking ball much better as of late. Had really get a swing at that last one.
56 runs batted in, just a huge number. He was trying to lean, drop, and drive. You know, you start to think about the number of foul balls he's hit directly back to the screen, and of course it doesn't matter, and we don't tabulate that, but it shows me he's on some of those pitches when he's not even putting them in play.
Yeah, and that is a violent swing.
Down in the count, 0-2. Wave and a miss. Went after the pitch just above the belt. Couple of Ks from Miles Patton. And A&M with a 1-0 lead after an inning. Michael Early, he's a top stepper in that dugout. First season as the head coach for Texas A&M. Asked him yesterday what he has kind of learned. You know, he's a guy that kind of seeks out knowledge. We talked a lot about Marcus Freeman of Notre Dame football back in March. He's from Indiana and would follow Freeman, who like Early as a young head coach, kind of full of energy. And what Michael said, you know, I hate losing even more than I thought I did, but you got to stay the course. You know, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work. You can't wear it too much when you're trying to build back to where they had 8 straight wins before losing game 1 of this doubleheader. Bear Harris in the batter?
Yeah, I think so. I think that says a lot about his character and just, you know, how his team kind of fed off his confidence to kind of turn things around this season.
Because you can believe had A&M gone in a different direction. And listen, that when you have a coaching change after the College World Series is over, you know it's late and it's hard to get players. But his efforts to keep these players together and the bulk of this team and then go out and add a couple of transfers. Ball's driven off the bat of Harris into right center. Thomas Jr. started back and then circles in to make the catch. DVH, 23 years as the head hog. Probably seen a few of these doubleheaders in his day. Not sure what these teams are going to do with themselves, having a couple of days off, kind of getting that grind and kind of battle through every weekend.
Yeah, I think so. And so DVH really trying to call Brett Iredale in and saying, hey, you can't just give him the bunt down the third baseline. I tell you, one of the things that Dave Van Horn talked about is just you know, really the difference that the portal and NIL has done. He said, you're always recruiting. You're recruiting your own team. You're recruiting high school players. You're recruiting the portal. He said it's basically nonstop.
Caden Cantu, I have 11 for his last 19, is down in the count with a couple of strikes. Will this one find the seats? It will. Aloy had to give chase. He was the only infielder on the left side of the diamond. Somebody in the first row got a baseball. I don't count that as a clean catch. That was more of a pickup and retrieve.
A little ricochet action there.
Breaking ball hung just a bit, and it was blistered foul by Kent into the stands and then out down the line in right. Two-strike pitch, and that was a healthy rip.
That was a big two-strike swing.
That was not a.
And that was right in on the knuckles, too.
Yep, wasn't a protect and put it in play swing. He was swinging with intent to do some damage. Didn't look like a bad pitch from Vital Sheets.
We talked about Vahiva Loy being locked in at the plate. Just watch, even with 2 strikes, how Caden Kent just spit on that last pitch. It's kind of a borderline one. I feel like he's pretty locked in as well. That's
and a little bit
great
down.
take
Yep.
right there. Great take.
That pitch looks like it's going to be a strike when
Yeah.
it came out of the hands, and then it finished down. See cheese written on the glove there of Vital Shees. Came back up in the zone and fouled away. Whoever was making that glove or putting that stitching on his glove thought, cheese.
Yeah.
What? It's easier than Vital Sheets. And again, a take from Kent in a similar spot.
Again, just a really comfortable take as well.
Here's a payoff. Breaking ball, and that's blistered into right for a base hit and more. It's going to take a bounce and kick up off the fence. Kent just can't be retired. Hard contact, soft contact, they're all going for base hits, and that's a 1-out double.
Yeah, you just felt like in that at bat, he was in the driver's seat the whole way, even with 2 strikes.
Local product, Blake Bindera.
Well, he takes up a lot of space in that batter's box,
He
doesn't he?
Just spreads out wide. Hard hit to third. Backhanded by Iredale. He had to pick it up between his legs and still threw out Bindera. But a second out. Kent has to hold it second.
It's a good job by Iredale not to panic on that ball. Again, that ball was smoked off the bat right at Iredale. Hits it. Looks the runner back. Makes a nice strong throw to first base.
Ball almost rolled far enough between his legs that he was going to have to hop backwards to pick it up, but he got it before it went so far away that it maybe inhibited his throw to first. It's a strike of the knees inside corner to Ben Royo, the second baseman. 0 for 4, 3 Ks in game 1.
Yeah, Ben would love to drive in a run right here and kind of make up for that lack of offense in game 1.
Yeah, the series
game
hasn't
1
been
of today.
Ton of fun. And normally when you're kind of fighting it just a bit, you look up and you're down 0-2.
Yeah, it seems that way. You guys are always, painting the outside corner at the knees and stuff. It's just, you never get a break.
Final she set, 2-strike pitch. Popped up, it should be out of play. Helfrich off with the mask taking a peek, but it's not close to being somewhere in foul territory. Battle sheets a check of Kent at second. Gets the wave and a miss. Troy worked around that double and keeps A&M from heading to its lead.
That's a really good job by Landon Vital. She's getting up the rocket to Caden Kent. Came back. That's his second strikeout of the game.
PenguinCustoms.net.
What?
Glad I get credit card fraud alerts from Navy Federal Credit Union. Yeah. Can't imagine where I'd be without them.
Hey, that's mine! Stop that penguin!
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
or so ago, Arkansas was number 1 in the polls, number 1 in RPI, but they're third now in the RPI index. 12-5 against quad 1 and quad 2 teams. Projected number 2 national seed. And we're getting to that point where it's kind of fun to look at the projections on what teams might be at a regional here by D1 baseball. And of course, it'll ebb and flow a little bit. Cam Koschel facing Miles Patton to begin the second. Takes one up and in. A&M has been considered in the last 4 in that category. And again, it provides some similarities with Arkansas basketball in the last couple of weeks when they were going down the stretch trying to stay in and hope to do some damage in the postseason. Koschel fouls one back.
Lost a grip right there. It's pretty unusual that the lead hand came off the bat.
Cahillo does that a few times, doesn't he? When he loses a hand? Or
I think so.
Maybe he loses.
The trailing hand,
Yeah.
I think that was a really unusual.
Really feels like Miles Patton's been able to work just above the belt and get these Razorbacks to either swing and miss or swing and foul it back.
Yeah, I think his fastball's not overpowering, but what he does have is he has a lot of carry on it, and it stays up. If he's going to throw a fastball up, it stays up. And you see a lot of Razorbacks just missing him, getting underneath it.
Might be the case. 5, 6, and 7 to up this inning, and there it is again.
Yeah.
Up in the zone, wave and a miss. Same thing that both Maxwell and Aloy did. A few pitches in the course of their ABs with a strike 3.
It's amazing how analytics have changed so many things, because you always heard as a pitcher, hey, pound the bottom of the strike zone, pound the bottom. And now you see pitching coaches go, hey, the way with your spin rate, you can pitch up in the zone and have more success. And you see that a lot more in college baseball.
Well, Iredale broke out of an 0-4 19 skid with a 2-run double in that decisive 5th inning in our first game. Ended up driving in 3 runs in the contest, adding a sac fly. He needs one more run batted in to get to an even 50, a nifty 50. That's where the base is empty. And an out in the second. Two-oh pitch misses up and out.
Again, you go back to at-bats and takes. You know, previously in that 0 for 19 slump, Iredale swinging at that pitch right there.
He has walked an absurd number of times this year, 30, and you mix that in with the hit by pitches, which is also a big number. That's 44 free bases, whether it's walks or HBPs. Serves one towards shallow center. Laviolette won't get there. So Iredale will take that, dumps a single into right center field. The second single by the Razorbacks here in game 2.
Sometimes you just have to get a little bit lucky, and that's just a little pitching wedge out into a right center field. You can see how deep Laviolette's playing, and again, with the wind not as heavy, you have to play a little bit deeper with a guy that's hit double-digit home runs like Brent Iredale has.
Rocco Pepe steps in. He started both games. He was hit by a pitch in his first plate appearance in game 1 for the 54th time in his career. Flew out and then was pinch hit for in that big 5th inning. So many guys are worried about tightening up those batting gloves. He just lets those flaps hang. He lost a hand on the bat. Fouled one directly to the screen.
Now we know why his back hurts after swings like that.
Arkansas has not advanced a runner in a scoring position yet. Laviolette's home run is the difference in the game. Another wave and a miss at another pitch up and out of the zone. That's 4 Ks for Miles Patton. So after giving up 17 runs in his last 3 starts, he seems to have his good stuff working early in this game.
Yeah, he really is doing a great job. Not afraid to pitch up in the zone, having tremendous success with that ride and carry with that fastball. But what's allowing him to do that is, for the most part, he's been pitching ahead. Kind of forcing Arkansas to expand that strike zone.
I think in the first couple of games, these Arkansas hitters saw so many changeups. They're getting some fastballs and they're excited, but it's not quite the one that they're squaring up or certainly seeing as a strike.
Maybe a little bit jumpy.
Ryder Helfer takes one out. Ryder has the hit and 8 at bats so far in this series. I would say as a catcher, Troy, you better be ready to go when you're catching 3 games in the course of about 26 hours.
Yeah, I think both teams have got the same catcher all 3 games.
That one fades a little bit down and out.
This is if you're Helfrich, you've got to be really patient and have a small strike zone. I mean, it's got to be like about half the size of a shoebox.
Soft flip to first. I think A&M's pitchers have thrown to first more than any we have seen this year, and for the most part against runners that aren't going anywhere.
Right. It's almost like a way to
reset?
reset, yeah.
Pitch timer winding down as Helfrich takes one high, so now the count's going to 3-0.
I know DVH is normally not the one to turn somebody loose, but sometimes I think it can really work in your advantage.
I do too, especially for a guy who's had some pop as of late. 8 homers on the season.
Now, that was a pitcher's pitch. That was kind of the outer third. I think Helfrich's asking, is that the top of the strike zone? I think if you ask that question as a hitter in the right manner, in the right tone, I think there's Mom. She's on it.
She is ready to rock, trying to capture a big swing. Fouled back and out of play. The key is to go pitch to pitch so that you can dump the foul balls and the takes. I know her storage is pretty good in her plan. Right. You don't want to blow it up with something
like
you don't want to say.
Like a 16 pitch at bat with a whole bunch of fouls?
Nope.
Okay.
She talking to herself as well?
I think that's a little word of encouragement.
Okay.
Iredell has that 7.5 lead, so he's not going anywhere.
The key, of course, is to be able to frame up your son and also kind of peek and watch the action beyond your phone. You can tell I've done this a few times myself.
That's right. It is full count, but I mean, Iredell's going to be super safe.
Here's the payoff pitch. Low it in. That's ball 4. Arkansas gets a runner to second. Look at Mom. She's focusing all the way down to first. She's recording everything.
Surely she's not like timing him on walks. It took you 8 seconds to get from home to first in that walk. Pick up the pace.
Got time to do a little high five there as well.
Could be one of the hottest hitters of Arkansas. Arkansas's lineup is Justin Thomas Jr. coming up.
Four for 6 with a couple of home runs so far in the series. Outfielders playing deep today, so a base hit should score Iredale to tie the game.
Brett, I'll tell you what's interesting. Binder Up is playing way off the line, so it allows Ryder Helfrich to get an absolute monster lead. If there's a ground ball to shortstop, they're going to have to go across the diamond because Helfrich's going to be at second base in a blink of an eye.
kind of deked him a little bit. Here's the 2-0. He popped up back and out of play. Thomas Jr. couldn't square that one up, elevated again. Well, back-to-back innings. He had back-to-back results in game one with a couple of homers to almost the same spot.
See, that almost went over between the ballpark and Slim Chickens. Let's see where the second one ends up.
A little further to the right.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I think last night these Razorback hitters went to bed and they saw changeups in their nightmares. Today they're seeing 89-mile-an-hour belt-high pitchers.
Yeah, I think that's a fastball with a little bit of run right there. I think if you're Thomas, you have to make sure that you don't chase that fastball up.
Wave and a miss. That was 3 strikeouts this inning, 5 for Patton through a couple of innings. Aggies up by a run.
You want to host a low-key brunch, but you're getting married. So, a bachelorette brunch. Ooh, bingo, baby. But it needs a theme. 90s bachelorette brunch. Okay. Or in our 90s bachelorette brunch. From silverware to silver hair, get everything for every party on Amazon.
PenguinCostumes.net.
What?
Glad I get credit card fraud alerts from Navy Federal Credit Union. Yeah. Can't imagine where I'd be without them.
Hey, that's mine! Stop that penguin!
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Well, the tournament resume for A&M, strength of schedule, 17, that's going to keep climbing. That will not change. Projected as a number 3 seed, one of the last teams in. That would be a 3 seed I would not want to see.
No, it's going to put some shivers in somebody's spine as they get put in their regional.
So the SEC teams that finished below 500 and went on to the postseason. Ole Miss, of course, in 2022, they ended up winning it all.
You just got to get in.
That's right. Jamal George started and left last night, getting the start of game 3.
He was 2 for 4 last night. Scored a run.
A little bit out from Vital Shees.
Brett, I'll tell you what, these A&M hitters do a really good job of laying off the changeup down and away, and I think it's because they probably saw 1,000 in the fall.
Bet they did.
From their own staff that throws some great changeups.
Here's the payoff pitch. Well, George got a piece to stay alive. George out of Puerto Rico through the International Baseball Academy, then Alabama State. Vital, she's investing a few pitches to the leadoff man in this third inning. Have to do more.
I'll tell you one thing you learn from the players from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic is they are very aggressive at the plate. You almost have to force them to walk.
Wave and a miss. Vital, she's with the strikeout. That's his third.
I think that's a big batter right there, just kind of setting the tone of this inning. Vital She's, like you said, invested a lot of pitches, just really threw that one right by Jamal George.
Back to the top of the lineup. Killed the second. He flew out to left to begin this game. Vital Sheets has that short arm action. It is a little bit unique the way the ball kind of comes out of his hand. Pitch is fairly fast. Runs one over the outside corner for a called strike. He says that short arm action is easier to repeat. Maybe the hitters have a hard time kind of seeing it or picking up the baseball coming out of the fingers. They say it kind of comes out of his shoulder. Well, Kill the second didn't see it. That's 3 straight strikeouts for Vital Sheets.
Yeah, really locked up. Kill the second right there. That was a breaking ball that starts around the knees and just ends up at his toes. Almost just corkscrewed Keel Jr. right there. It's a good job by Helfrich to stay with it.
Well, nobody on base for Laviolette, but you still have to pitch to him anyhow. I guess the game requires it unless you want to put him on first. He's homered in every game of this series, and he's up to 14 on the season. So, you know, Michael Early was asked about Laviolette by the ESPN crew and by myself yesterday, and I'm sure he was shouldering a little bit of the burden earlier, but he said, you know, you're going to look up at the end of the year, and he's going to be over 300. He's probably going to have 20 home runs. He's going to have 60, 70 RBIs, and everybody's going to say that was a bad year.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Back-to-back 20 home run seasons, and that's the first time that has happened in Texas A&M history.
I think your Vital Sheets, if you're going to throw a fastball, it better be about head high. You might want to throw this breaking ball off the plate right here.
1-2, and he hooks one. Foul outside of first. I think conventional wisdom at the beginning of the year had him and maybe the youngest Holiday over in Stillwater as candidates for that 1-1 pick. And we shall see. I know we've talked about Vahiva Loy as he's continued to move up those draft projections. First round, maybe middle of the first round, so on and so forth. Still expect this man to be right there at some point. That one came under his chin. To me, Troy, it's not just the runs batted in and whatnot, but he's fun to watch in center field with the ground he can cover. I don't think he's a center fielder at the big league level, but he does a lot in the outfield.
Yeah, he can definitely cut a ball off in the gap playing right or left field.
Chopper to first. A big hop for Pepe. Flips to Cheese covering in time. Get out of the way of Laviolette. And that will end the inning. Perfect third. Still 1-0 Texas A&M. We go to the bottom of the third. Troy, on Sunday Night Baseball last week, I heard something talking about playing infield with Eduardo Perez. And they said anytime a ball is hit hard right in front of the plate, an infielder is going to take the hop from the belt up. So watch this. This ball hits right in front of the plate. Watch where Pepe gets this bounce. Belt high.
Belt high.
Now, I thought, I had never heard that in all these years. And it came from Perry Hill, probably the best infield instructor in baseball along with Ron Washington. And he told those infielders, if you see that ball hit hard right in front of the plate, you're probably going to take it from the belt up. That's not one that you charge if it's hit hard, because if you do, that hop might have some spin on it.
Yeah,
that's the first time this weekend I've seen it.
I've never heard that either. That is super interesting, and you're exactly right. Boy, it had some serious top spin. I can't even speak, because that ball really took off on Pepe.
And you're probably going to get that second bounce. The first one's going to come out, and that second one's going to hit. It's going to have that spin.
Yep.
If you're charging and you're not expecting that bounce, you're probably going to take it in your teeth. You're going to be stabbing at it. So you wait for that high bounce if you can, and that's exactly what transpired there with Pepe.
Yeah, I think the only way you charge it is if you can catch that ball before it hits the ground that second time.
Davalon flew out to center in his first at bat here in Game 2.
Love the encouragement right there by Bear Harrison to his pitcher Miles Patton. Said, you know, hey, it's exactly where I wanted that 0-2 pitch.
Do you think that hesitation at all bothers the hitters, or are they just not seeing that high spin fastball as elevated?
Yeah, I don't think the hesitation on on the windup really has that much effect. I think it's just the carry on that fastball and his ability to throw it above the belt.
That's tagged to center and down for a base hit. So another one from Davalon. I know it doesn't really matter for him. Lefties, righties, he hits them all.
Yeah, Charles Davalon is just an absolute hitting machine. And boy, you talk about guys draft stock jumping. How about Charles Davalon's?
You know, you think, well, he maybe hasn't torn it up this weekend. He's 5 for 11 in these 3 games. Fahiva Aloy is 6 for 10 against Texas A&M pitching. Singled on a soft ground ball to the right of second base in the first. Royo, the second baseman, kind of shading over there.
Do you think you try to pitch toward the shift? You try to pitch even middle in, or you try to stay away from him and allow him to shoot one through that right side?
I'd make him do the same thing again.
Kind of like Laviolette. If he's going to bunt, you just say thank you, and we'll give you the bunt base hit. Ground ball to the right side for Aloy. Okay. That's not going to hurt us or put you up by a run if he hits a home run instead.
Figure he has less chance to hurt somebody in the hog pen if I pitch him away than if I pitch him in.
That's true.
Nonetheless, the number of swings and misses Miles Patton has recorded probably feels like it's more than a lot of Razorback games through 9 innings or 8 innings.
It really does. And you're talking about a guy that's throwing upper 80s. And again, that just shows kids out there, it's not about velocity. It's about location.
Spin doesn't hurt.
Spin. I think that was nice that Binder up is 6'6" because he had to reach around Davalon to keep that ball going from down the right field corner.
Outfield straight away and deep against Fahiva Aloy. Harrison, the catcher, sets up in and fouled back to the right.
Yeah, Arkansas is a team that really doesn't run a lot, especially with their power hitters up. And with Patton, the left-hander, on the mound, it makes it really tough because you're just going to have to guess and go on first movement. And with no outs, a runner on first, you really don't want to get picked off in this situation.
Fahiva fouls another one straight back to the screen, and a pitch that probably wasn't a strike. A little bit up and out of the zone.
That's what good hitters do. They spoil the pitcher's pitch, or maybe the pitch that's a little borderline with 2 strikes. It's trying to wait for one they can handle.
Arkansas trying to get on the board here in the bottom of the 3rd of our nightcap. I'll say it again. I feel like they've thrown to first more against a team that's last in the conference in stolen bases than any other team we've seen to date.
Yeah, I think so. I think just trying to keep the Hogs honest from kind of a sneak attack on a stolen base.
Next one to Aloy. Way out in front of that one, hooks it foul.
Nice play by the dugout. Yeah, the girl right there in the middle, right in front of the towel,
She speared it?
Left-handed,
Okay.
I think, too.
Nicely done.
She was smooth.
I can't see anything to the left of third base. You know that from where I sit.
That's right.
So you have to help me out. Long battle between Patton and Fahiva Aloy. Popped up, should be able to play, and will be.
Yeah, this was smooth. Off the second hop. See, she fielded it waist high.
She did. She anticipated that bounce. Leadoff single for Davalon. This is the 8th pitch of this at bat, the 9th pitch. And there'll be a 10th.
Kind of like what happens when Jace Laviolette gets into a hitter's count. You kind of think the same thing when Vahiva Loy gets into a hitter's count, being 2-2 right here. I think the opponent's dugout just kind of takes a little extra deep breath, just hoping that that ball stays in the yard.
The battle continues. Hard hit, maybe a chance for two. Royo flips to Kent. Back to first. Vahiva beat it out. Tell you what, he wasn't frustrated with that sequence. He was racing up the line to try and beat that to keep it from being a double play. And that was all-out hustle. Because I thought off the bat this was going to be two.
Watch how far that Kent has to go to get to that bag. And the throw was a little bit out toward left field, and I think that's the difference. If that ball hits Kent in the chest, I think that's a double play. He has to kind of reach to his left. His momentum,
I think so,
kind of takes him away from first base.
He's got such a strong arm. I think he wants to make sure he's in a good throwing spot because he can make up some time with that arm. But get it out. Here's Maxwell, struck out looking in the first. Next pitch from Patton, bends right on the outside corner.
Two really good pitches by Patton to Logan Maxwell, and he is in the driver's seat right here.
That slider?
Yeah, I think it was. That was almost mid-80s with that pitch because he's sitting upper 80s with that fastball.
Oh, 2 and bends one down and out. Quick appeal to third. Scott Kennedy says no swing. Came back with that pitch again. I don't think the intent was to land it, but more to get a chase. Almost did.
Wouldn't be surprised if Patton doesn't go back to first base. Loy with 6 of 8 on the season in stolen bases. You could just kind of feel that one coming.
Yeah. These runners are back on the base before the throw even gets about halfway to first. So it's not the A move, of course.
Pretty good lead right there by Loy.
Patton staring at him, throwing to first again.
Sometimes as a base runner, you take an extra step knowing that you're going to go back to the base. Just try to see if you get the better move, that A move like you said.
See where Harrison's setting up. Maxwell puts it in play but fouls it away. Bender up retrieves in the coach's box.
Loy went out there and marked his spot. As he was coming back to first base, he kind of said, okay, this is how far I want to get out to. I feel like Patton is just really in control of this at-bat against Maxwell.
1 on, 1 out here in the bottom of the third inning. Some long EBs between 10+ pitches there with Aloy before reaching on the fielder's choice, and now Maxwell trying to find a way to get on base for Kahio Aloy, who's on deck.
Patton is definitely very methodical in his approach to pitching.
Swung on, popped up, backing out of play again.
Pulled the string on that one. How about 75 on the changeup?
It is kind of a battle of attrition, just kind of trying to wear you down. Maxwell will fist one that'll dump into right center field. Aloy will turn and race to third base. So Logan Maxwell won that long tilt. And the Razorbacks have a runner at third for the first time in this game.
Brett, that's one of those hits that actually works in your favor when you just got completely jammed. You muscle that ball into the outfield, but what it does, it allows Vahiva-Loy to easily go from first to third. You can see how deep Laviolette is having to play, and that hit the ground and bounced about 6 times before Laviolette was able to get to that baseball. Now Arkansas, you really want to try to capitalize right here and just knot this game up in 1.
Vahiva-Loy did go down on strikes back in the first against this lefty Miles Patton. Went upstairs again. Did Cahillo check? He must have.
That's from Jeff Wright, the first base umpire. He was behind the dish in game 1 of the doubleheader today.
56 runs batted in for Aloy. Pitch taken for a called strike. I pointed this number out when he singled in a run in game 1 for those of us, or you that weren't with us. But entering play today with runners in scoring position, he was 34 for 64. That's .531. That's why he's picked up 56 runs batted in. Offered it another high one that he can't get on top of and fouled it back. So Patton would love a K here. Just a fly ball could tie the game.
Yeah, and the thing for Arkansas is you've got Logan Maxwell that really can't run very well with that hamstring, so he's not really a threat to steal, so that double play stays in order.
Well, the numbers with runners in scoring position entering today, the homers, the runs batted in, I suppose they all go hand in hand when you're hitting at that clip. Can Patton get another K? The 1-2 pitch, that ball's launched to left. George is underneath it. This will tie the game. The catch is made. One brother again knocks it another. Arkansas is on the board in the sac fly. RBI number 57 for Vahiva-Loy. 48-degree exit launch angle. And that went straight up. And Arkansas gets a run.
I really like what Vahiva-Loy did right there. He almost counted to 1,001 before he took off. A lot of times they tell base runners when you're on third base, already get in your crouch, because sometimes when you're standing up straight and then you kind of get into your crouch to take off and run, umpires think you've already left the base, but you just are going down before you go out.
And you don't want to cost your brother an RBI.
That's right.
Cam Kojal. Hits have been a little bit tough to come by this weekend, and that is a swing for someone where everything came just so effortlessly and easily before.
Brett, I'll tell you what, this is getting to be about the next 30 minutes is going to be really tough for fly balls to the outfield.
Another high pitch, another foul ball.
Yeah, it seems like the Cam Kojal is kind of expanding that strike zone about the last week to 10 days. I mean, you can't argue. The guy's still hitting 370, which is still amazing, but
he's been really good at going to left field. I think they're, you know, when you pitch up, it's hard to get that bat elevated enough to hit it to left with any intent or damage.
I was going to go back to the play by George in the outfield. That's just a smart baseball play. You throw that ball into second base. You keep Maxwell at first base. The run's going to score. There's no way you're going to throw Vahiva-Loy out at the plate.
This pitch is requested up. Just watching Harrison on the glove. I mean, sometimes those catchers, they tap, and I never understand when you take that target away. You know, you want to continually give that target to the pitcher, and Harrison did, but immediately he was holding that glove up.
I want that one head high.
See if he does it again. Waiting to put that sign up. 2-2, fouled back again. He didn't want it quite up and out of the zone with 2 strikes. He was trying to get that finish at the belt.
I always think about what happens on the 2-2 pitch, because you really don't want to go full count, because then you're going to get Maxwell off with the pitch, and then he might be able to score on a ball in the gap.
Pitch count jumping up a bit on Patton. And again, Logan Maxwell's not going anywhere.
No.
Koshel's 0 for 9 though against Texas A&M. And he's going to wave and miss. The strikeout will end the inning. Arkansas gets a run to get on the board. Tied as we go to the 4th inning. I just had a little moment there. Sorry, Troy. Take us through the pitcher's lines.
Yeah, looking pretty even right there between Patton and Beidelshees. The 3 innings, you see the Ks for both of them have been pretty effective. The big number that jumps out at me, only 1 walk between the two. That's by Patton. And tell you what, these guys are filling up the strike zone with some pretty good stuff.
When your daughter hits a 3-run homer 5 seconds before you come at a commercial break,
you're just kind of floating in a different stratosphere.
Goodness. Wyatt Hensler takes one up and out. And for the A&M fans that don't care, she played at the same high school that Dylan Rock did, that Joseph Menifee did, that Kingsley Kiki did, a former A&M greats in football and baseball.
Right.
So there you go. Of course, Kevin Kopps as well. Pitch to Hensler, and he tags one foul down the line and left.
Talk about a guy that has transitioned well from the Ivy League. That's Wyatt Hensler.
I think really it makes a great story. The other competition that they have going on, and obviously when you're kind of fighting for your postseason life, it gets pushed to the back chapter. But just competing with his own teammate, Laviolette, for the active home run lead amongst all players in college baseball.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I said back in March when I had these games at the Astros Park, that one's over the mound and fielded there by Koschel behind the bag, and he'll flip to first to retire Hensler. That I thought Jace was going to lap him, and he's probably going to win that battle, but
yeah,
because he's
so.
homered 3 times this weekend. But Hensler's hung right in there.
The question is, who in the Aggie dugout stirring that pot? Because
There's
there's somebody. It's
right?
got to be a pitcher. They're probably left-handed, and they're probably in there going, okay, Jace, he's right on your heels. He's tied with you. You going to let that?
It makes me wonder if they have 2 green jackets and 2 putters, because if Laviolette homers and he's down there with the green jacket, and that's a big man to get that jacket on, and then he's got to do the putt, and Hensler hits one, then you got to get another prop. Caden Sorrell skies one to center. Thomas Jr. may not have seen that right away. And the wind will glide it over towards Davidon, so he'll make the catch for the second out. And Beidelshees, after giving up that homer in the first, is trying to settle in just a bit.
Well, I tell you what, yeah, right off the bat, you could see Thomas Jr., his hands kind of go out to his side going, I don't see it. And that was a really good job.
Well, you mentioned this is the Gloman time right now.
It is just the ball. What happens when it's not dark enough so you don't see the white baseball against the black sky, and once it gets up above the lights, it just turns into a gray dot.
Can you not run to a spot in anticipation of where the balls be because you take your eyes off it, or does it matter even if you stay in contact with that the entire time? You may lose it.
Well, it looks like that he lost it straight from off the bat, and then he
That's
finally
helpless,
picked it up. Yeah.
I mean, that ball was hit high, and it was kind of a comfortable fly ball, which gives you time to recover. Because if it's laced right at you, that heartbeat really gets going, and
right.
you can hear the real damage swings.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a difference of the sound off the bat.
Bear Harrison flied out to Thomas Jr. a couple of innings ago in the second. I was mentioning his toe tap, and again, kind of taken over the catching position, and he's done so by going to a toe tap, and you'll see it here. Just a different timing mechanism, whatever it is, it's worked for him. There's the tap and the swing. Laced fouled outside of third. And, you know, for every hitter, sometimes it's something different. I think having a head coach who was your hitting coach last year is unique because you have a hitting coach. You've got your former hitting coach, head coach, that you can really dive into with both thoughts and video.
Yeah, I think so. That's great. And also you have a coach that saw what you did a season ago, and then you've got a new coach who can have maybe bring in a new perspective. But yeah, I think that toe tap is allowing Bear Harrison to kind of keep that weight back. You know,
Not
you can
drift or lunge a little bit?
Like you can see he almost kind of, that's his load. So when that toe tap happens, you know, he's kind of loading on that back leg a little bit more.
Certainly you look at him and there's enough size and strength to where you're not feeling like you have to have that full body swing
Right.
to generate some juice. And Bear Harrison, by the way, went to De La Salle High School, and if he wasn't a football player for that incredible program, I would be shocked. And he's going to reach with 2 outs in the 4th inning. Battleshees was trying for back-to-back perfect frames.
I can't give you any stats, but I can definitely know that football program is just, they had some like stretches of undefeated seasons
doubt.
that were just ridiculous.
And, you know, there's a handful of programs that are known throughout the country. And I mentioned Katy, Texas earlier. That's another one. And there's a few in the Metroplex in Texas. There's no shortage. And obviously, De La Salle and the Bay Area and California, one of those. Caden Kent, I believe, is 12 for his last 20. He's had soft hits. He's had hard hits. He's had hits early in the at-bat. He's had hits late. A good throw might have a chance to get Harrison, and Helfrich just could not pick up the baseball.
Yeah, I think the thing that really hurt Helfrich on that play right there is when the ball was at his feet, he picked it up with his
the
glove.
Yep, he sure
He's
did.
got to go get that with a bare hand. It's almost like a little slow roller to a pitcher or an infielder. You got to go bare hand that ball. First of all, that's a great read by Bear Harrison. You're a catcher. You don't have blazing speed. Boy, when he saw that ball in the dirt, I mean, he was off to the races. And that could be big right there to get that extra base. Now a base hit scores a run.
I felt like that happened a couple of times against Arkansas in A&M's favor yesterday. Battleshees missing in. 2 balls and a strike to Kent. I tell you what, Troy, it might kind of impact how I wanted to pitch Kent with first base open.
Yeah, I think you're very careful right here because you've got a guy that is just absolutely on fire. Yeah, I think
he's
those
kind
are,
of nibbling, isn't he?
Exactly. This is not a bad move. I just stick up 4 fingers right now. I don't even throw him another pitch.
Hitters count for Kent. Nibbling on the corner but missing, and I think in essence he was working around Kent. The fans are up in arms, but I just think that he wanted to take his cracks with Bender up, who bounced to third in his last at bat. Obviously, this man homered in the 8th inning of Game 1, the only blemish really on Gackel's outing. So it's in there, and Matt Hobbs is going to pay a quick visit to the mound.
I still don't think that's a bad walk.
I don't either. Obviously, he now needs to lock in and retire Bender up, and this may be part of the conversation on the importance now of getting it out because there's a couple of guys on base, both walking with 2 outs.
There's some bodies down in the Arkansas bullpen. Looks like Aiden Jimenez is just kind of starting to toss a little bit.
I'd imagine we could see him or Wiggins. You know, Hobbs got here about the 4th inning for the game on Tuesday night, and we noticed that he wasn't around in BP. And then he made a mound visit later on. I'll resume that thought in a second. This is the home run from Blake Bender up in the 8th inning, and Troy, this was some serious launch angle.
Yeah, that one was up the chute and landed in the Aggie bullpen. And again, sometimes as a hitter, you may lose the game, but you're going to carry that over from Game 1 to Game 2. Give yourself a lot of confidence as he steps in the box right now.
Big at bat early in this game. I was saying about Hobbs, though, he's having to go watch some of his pitchers in the middle of his season because, you know, next year with all these roster limits, you can't really miss when you bring somebody in.
You're
it's going to
exactly
count
right.
against your number, and the numbers aren't very big, and you need to see these guys in game action as best you can. That was quite a swing from Bender up on a pitch in the dirt. So, you know, in addition to having to recruit in season and focus on your current pitchers and the next team scouting reports, it never stops.
Yep, you gotta stay on it. But you're exactly right. With the reduction in the roster for the 2026 season, it is going to be critical that teams are locked in on the people they have on that roster. Not any extra fluff, is there?
No, and I think every program's going to have the same issue. If you have injuries, you're going to be a bind. If you miss, you're going to be in a bit of a bind as well. The 2-1 is laced in the left. That's a base hit. Davalon was playing deep. Bear Harrison will go to third. Good throw, might have a chance, but that is going to be in time! Helfrich caught the ball out of the air. Applied the tag to Harrison. I think the Aggies want to review. For the time being, the inning is over. And Troy, the question is, where did Helfrich apply the tag to the sliding Bear Harrison? If you miss on the ankle or the shoe and a little bit higher tag, it gives that runner a chance.
Texas
to
A&M is challenging the out call at the plate. Texas A&M challenging the out call at the plate.
In real time, it looked like he was out, but again, this is when we get the slowed down version. And it looked like off the bat. Here's the thing. Does the outfielder get to the baseball before the guy hits third base? And he does. Anytime that happens as an outfielder, you feel like you've got a shot.
Ooh. I mean, he's tagging him higher. That would give you the indication that maybe he's safe. The question is, does that front foot go over the plate or does it touch? Because that's still in the air. I think he's going to be out.
I think he's going to be out too. That's tough. It's a little bit tougher.
Maybe there's a better
angle
that we're not seeing.
But here's what happens these SEC umpires. That's David Savage, the home plate umpire. It is absolutely amazing of the positioning they get in to make a call. And you felt like he was right over the top of that call.
If you're sliding into a base, that base obviously is elevated, you hit it.
Was that foot on the base? Ooh.
Is that tag applied already, or is he still reaching? Is that on the thigh, or is that tag still not there? Wow. I love Hawkeye because it's just.
I think the foot is almost turning. Watch his foot. See if the ankle starts turning before the tag is made, right?
So is that foot down?
That next frame, that looks like the foot's down.
But is that tag applied or not?
I don't think so.
Tell?
I think that there's a gap there.
Is that enough then to overrule?
I mean, that's
something else.
That's about as clear as you can get. To me,
clear
it looked
as
like
mud.
the foot got in. on the live play, it looked like he was out. I think that's.
Well, the throw was a little bit to the foul territory side, of course, so Helfrich had to lunge back. And Harrison was doing everything he could, of course, to get to the plate. And it's only natural for that foot to be hovering just a bit over the plate, and whether that inside of the toe had touched or whether the tag was on the inside of the thigh, boy, you've got me.
I'm going with safe.
After review, the runner at the plate is out. That is A&M's first challenge of the game. They have one remaining.
Troy is wrong, and this game is still tied at 1. So Arkansas gets an outfield assist. We'll step aside in a 1-1 game.
Get new gear? Yep. I got it with all the money I saved with Navy Federal Credit Union. They really take care of me. Can't imagine where I'd be without them.
Proud to share our support of the military with the NHL.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Game on.
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Well, it's 1-1 here in Fayetteville after a great throw by Charles Davalon. Tell you what, there's been 7 hits in this game, and this could be a huge play. Bear Harrison's on second base. That ball's ripped into the outfield. Davalon just lets this one fly. And Bear Harrison made a great turn at third base, and boy, you talk about a bang-bang play at the plate, Brett.
It was. And Troy, I thought in real time out, and when we looked at that Hawkeye replay, if the call on the field would have been safe, you would not have been able to overrule it. But if you would have asked me if I thought that toe was just touching the plate before that tag was quite there, I probably would have said yes. But I almost wish, and I know the umpires don't want to do this, where they could say stands or not enough evidence to overturn it, because it gives you an idea rather than he was truly out, that you just can't overturn it based on the fact that maybe it's touching the gloves, touching the thigh before the toes touching the plate. That's a big play in this game.
It's definitely a momentum shift in this game. Now, if Arkansas can turn around and score a run right here, boy, you talk about how that momentum has shifted from one dugout to another.
There's one more aspect of that Davalon throw I'd like to touch on. It's 1-2, though, to Iredale, who singled back in the second. As Patton pitches, he gets the wave and a miss, another strikeout. That, I believe, is 7. Davalon is not known to have that cannon arm. He's playing deep. Troy, he did kind of a crow hop, kind of a gather, and I thought that was taking too much time, but it gave him every ounce to get that ball there in the air and not skip it to the plate.
The other thing he did, too, is almost kind of like a three-point shooter when your momentum's kind of going toward the basket. It kind of gives you a little extra range. He had a lot of momentum coming in when he fielded that ball, and he really used that to get every ounce of speed.
Well, the Hawks keep swinging at pitches above the belt.
And these are 88-mile-an-hour fastballs that look like 98.
We've talked about Arkansas having 4-pitch pitchers, and then that's the one you probably need to swing at and don't. But sometimes when you throw 4 pitches, you're compelled to kind of throw everything, the fastball, the slider, the curve, the changeup, whatever it is. These Aggie pitchers really lean to their strengths. If it's a changeup, we're going to throw that changeup right on left, right, doesn't matter, right on right, or we're going to throw that elevated fastball over and over and over and over and over until you make an adjustment or do something with it.
Yeah, I really like that approach of how they go at it.
Obviously, it works in this regard. I mean, Patton has not had a lot of success in recent starts, but you can see why he's in their rotation with what he's done.
I'm not sure if Jack Kelly, the pitching coach, calls the pitches, but I'm really impressed. I love the pattern, and sometimes it's a pattern of just, hey, show me that you can hit a certain pitch, and I'm going to keep throwing it until you do.
He thinks he's not calling pitches right there, but regardless, if Harrison's putting down the signs, he has been sort of in a groove. Arkansas got a sac fly to produce a run in the third, but that has been it here in the third game. That's down to Pepe 2-2. Arkansas is plus 241 on the run differential this year.
That's a staggering number. It's just absolutely crazy. Plus 241.
In 41 games. Pepe lifts one to left, and George, well, he's not real comfortable. I'm not sure if the wind moved that ball or whether he didn't pick it up right away because he had to really backpedal. I think he's saying he didn't see it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, you have to keep running it out. If you hit a ball in the air, and you might see some of these infield or outfielders look to their infield and say, "Hey, point it out. Help me find this thing."
Ryder Helfrich batting with 2 outs, and I think that shot right there gives you an idea. The lights are starting to take effect, but it's a little gloomy out there, and we know that it's supposed to start raining in about an hour or more, and then all through tomorrow. It's why this is a doubleheader day and not playing Game 3 of the series tomorrow. There are some schools around the country that are playing the traditional Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even on Easter weekend. Placed fair into the corner. Ryder Helfrich is going to have extra bases. Going to cruise towards second with a 2-out double, and that is the first extra base hit against Miles Patton. And Mom's recording and clapping at the same time. That's a keeper, Mom.
She's going to have that one on loop for a while.
You get this off the end of the bat?
Yeah, he just kind of hooked that one. It was only 86 miles an hour, but right down the line, just a great effort by Hensler. He did all he could, and when that ball gets that side wall, there's no way that you're going to get a guy at second base. You just got to throw that ball into third.
I don't see a little brother, but he's nearby, I'm going to believe. I was saying, though, there are some teams playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, even through Easter, as Thomas Jr. takes a pitch outside. Our thoughts certainly go out to those at Florida State because of the shooting on campus yesterday. They canceled the Florida State-Virginia game, and then they ended up canceling the entire weekend of games. So that's a series that just ceases to exist, I guess. You can't make it up, and you understand why there were some cancellations, but the SEC or the ACC standings will look a little bit different when 3 games are just lost off the grid.
Yeah, I think so. And that was a really important series, but you can 100% understand the thought process that went through that.
Active shooter middle of the afternoon yesterday, and a lot of chaos around campus. Thomas Jr. struck out against Patton back in the second. Takes a pitch at the bottom of the zone for a called strike.
Tell you what, Royo's really trying to keep Ryder Helfrich close to second base. I mean, you saw what happened. You saw a guy get thrown out in the last inning from Arkansas, threw out an A&M
their
potential scorer. Yeah, catcher. So they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to keep him close over there.
Popped up, backing out of play. Of course, a series win would be huge for Texas A&M to keep them building towards not just winning series, but of course the postseason. Arkansas trying to do what they have done 12 straight times, win an SEC home series, and 24 of their last 25. Thomas hits one to right. Kill Jr. back, nearing the fence. A jump catch to end the inning. At Arkansas strands a runner in scoring position, still a 1-1 contest. Troy, no surprise, Jace Laviolette has been in the middle of the scoring for A&M, homering in all 3 games.
Yeah, just big swings by a clutch hitter. And Kahia Valoy, talking about a clutch hitter, hit a moonshot out there. He scored his brother Vahiva. And that's how only the scoring was. This is a huge play right here. Davalon fields this ball. Great throw, cuts down Bear Harrison at the plate on a bang-bang, kind of a really close play, and it goes Arkansas's way.
1-1 as we go to the 5th. And Arkansas has gone to the bullpen. Vital She's 73 pitches done after 4 innings. Aiden Jimenez is on to work here in the 5th.
Yeah, you kind of felt like that Vital She's working on only 5 days rest instead of 7 like they normally get in the college season, but they're going to go. Arkansas is going to Aiden Jimenez, who's been really outstanding in relief. Throws a really heavy baseball, has a lot of sink, really fills up the strike zone as well. Big get for Arkansas to the portal from Oregon State.
And Royo will hammer one off the screen above Arkansas's dugout. With Jimenez, he's been thrown in more and more high leverage situations. I guess this certainly counts. 1-1 game and a 1-1 series. He had a chance to end the game in extras at Georgia on Sunday, which would have given Arkansas the series win. Bases empty, 2 outs. He hit a batter, Troy, then a double tied things up. Arkansas would lose an inning later in the 12th. But for Jimenez, and I know DVH talked about it after the game, he had thrown 2 1/3 on Friday and pitched 2 2/3 on Sunday in that extra inning game. And that's really the first time we've seen him working a couple of times in a weekend, 1 year and a few weeks post Tommy John.
Yeah, just his ability to come back. I mean, normal Tommy John is more like somewhere between 14 and 18 months recovery, and that might be stretching a little bit for some guys, but you know, to come back in basically less than a year and be pitching and having success, and it just right now he's like you said, about 13 months removed. It's just amazing. It's a tribute to his hard work ethic.
Royo hits one a mile in the air to left, and the Winds will work this away from Davalon. I think he should have a play. They didn't see it. The ball ends up in the seats. Vahiva was shading his eyes like the ball was coming back to him. I don't know if Davalon knew where that ball was going.
Well, yeah, Davalon was still in fair territory, and it landed about 6 rows in the stands. So, again, that tells me something. If you're Texas A&M right now, and you hit a fly ball, man, you bust it all the way around the bases because you might end up with a bloop double.
Getting back to the thought, though, on Jimenez, if you're a starting pitcher, it's really hard to come back a year and, throw 4 or 5 innings. You haven't been built up yet. As a reliever, it's a little bit easier, but now he's getting into these 2 or 3 inning stints. And then sometimes you see guys who do come back where you don't have the benefit of those 13 months leading into some off time where the season's starting when you're at that 12 or 13 or 14 months and you're forced into action where you're not sharp. I think we saw that. Maybe was it Dylan Carter?
Yeah, I think so.
You're trying to kind of find that flow again. He's going to get a wave and a miss from Royo to start the 5th inning. But credit to him, and I know they talk about what a hard worker he is. And listen, you could say that about a lot of guys, but you see the hard work also kind of carry over to what he's been able to do on the mound, because Arkansas, there was probably a few times in the fall they thought they might have to redshirt him.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing of his ability to come back. Honestly, it's one of the fastest I think I've ever heard of.
I would say fastest with effective on the other end.
Exactly.
As George fouls one back and out of play. I mean, sometimes you see a guy maybe at the big league level where he's trending back throughout the year in August, and then the rosters expand in September. You're like, well, we'd have nothing to lose.
Sure.
We can bring him back. We can throw him a couple of innings. If he's good, great. If he's not, we have 30 men on our active roster, so it's not like we're losing a roster spot to kind of find it on the fly. George will foul another one back and out of play.
I really like what Matt Hobbs and Dave Van Horn have done with Aiden Jimenez, because when he came back, it was like, okay, he's going to throw 20 pitches. He's going to throw 1 inning. Then it's 30. Then it's 40. They've kind of really been real careful on building up that pitch count. Almost to the point, like if he was in the bullpen and he was hot, they're just going to bring him in no matter what the score is, because they go, hey, he's coming off Tommy John. We're not going to take a chance to get him hot, cool him off, and then get him hot again.
Chopper to Aloy. What a casual play. A little bit of a high throw, though. And Pepe kept his foot in the bag. That is not a big man at first base with that height of like a Robinette. So he had to kind of keep his foot in contact with the base as best he could and retrieve the throw from Vahiva.
Yeah, out of the hand of Vahiva, you thought, okay, that one's going to sail. But Pepe, he's going about 5'9", and he used all of that frame. Watch Vahiva just kind of just take a little something off of that one, and he really had some carry to it. I think that's the extent of Pepe's wingspan right there.
That's
it. That's max effort.
Right. There's not one more inch in that wingspan. Back to the top of the lineup, and Kill, who's 0 for 2. Couple of quick outs from Jimenez. Ran one up and in. We talked a little bit about Aiden and, his baseball background. That's hit up the middle over second base and into center. So all Kill does is continue to get on base.
Kill does a great job of knowing the strike zone. You see he really lets you know that he knows the pitch is out of the zone. He'll shake his head no, but again, he's a guy that pretty much just swings at strikes.
Problem is you got to face this guy again by the name of Laviolette. Bounced out to Pepe in the third after homering again in the first. I was saying about Jimenez, his father Jason appeared in 5 major league games in 2002 with the Devil Rays and Detroit Tigers. We're talking about Gabe Frazier's dad yesterday. He played on a national championship team at Cal State Fullerton.
Okay.
And then was drafted.
Did he play for Augie Garrido?
He did.
I'd assume.
You bet. Big swing, soft chopper.
Yeah, there's that sinker right there by Jimenez.
I thought off the bat, Troy, this was going to hit the bomb walker or go over. I think it hit near the top of the scoreboard portion, below the bomb walker script.
Yeah, just a guy that is dangerous no matter what the count, any situation. You just have to be super careful.
There's another one hit high in the air, deep left center field, back to the hog pen, and it is gone. fourth home run this weekend for Laviolette. He's homer to left field, he's homer to right field, but that big swing puts the Aggies back in front. He's knocked in all 3 of their runs in game 3.
Boy, just power to all fields, and that is a pitch that ends up that Jimenez kind of shook his head as he got the ball back from Helfrich. Waist-high fastball. That is just right down the chute. Laviolette is too good of a hitter. Again, you talk about the sound as the ball comes off the bat. How about 104? He hit it 403 feet opposite field.
Yeah, with that contact, there was really no way the ballpark was going to hold it. Arkansas trailing again. And now the Aggies can start to think about how they want to utilize their bullpen to win this series. And that pitch in there for a strike to Hensler. You know, you get a couple of quick outs, you're feeling good. All of a sudden, a single up the middle and a bomb, and now you're down 2. Another play for Aloy. And the inning ends. But Jace Laviolette, what an amazing weekend. How about 4 home runs, including 2 in this game? A big one. He started the scoring, and now he put the Aggies in front with that 2-run blast. Jace Laviolette has accounted for all 3 runs for Texas A&M on a couple of swings.
And he is literally putting this team on his back and trying to just hoist and carry them to victory here in game 2.
You're talking about one of the more feared hitters in college baseball. And Arkansas really didn't want to have to pitch to him, but with runner at first and 2 outs, Jimenez just trying to get that out instead of 2-run bomb. And now Miles Patton working with the lead again.
Like, this is pretty critical for Arkansas, at least to scratch out 1 to try to answer the 2-run bomb by Laviolette.
Top of the lineup, 3rd time through against Patton. Davilon, Fahiva Aloy, and Logan Maxwell. Kahia if anybody gets on base.
Like, if you're Davilon, you just got to find a way to get on base. That's being patient, maybe take till you get a strike. When you're down 2 right in this situation, there's plenty of time for Arkansas, but you definitely need to get runners on, especially that leadoff man. So Davilon better square this one up or just let it go.
89th pitch is ball 3.
There's no one throwing down in the Aggie bullpen.
They've only used 3 relievers so far in the first 2 games. 3-0 pitch in there for a strike. Davilon 5 for 11 so far in this series. Takes a pitch at the knees for a called strike, so Patton has come back from 3-0 to send it full. Davilon having a conversation with David Savage, and he might want to know if that was at the true bottom of the zone. Hogs need base runners. Another base hit for Davilon. 66 hits in his 41st game.
It almost seems like it's a game for Charles Davilon. I mean, I know they're playing a game, but I mean, it's like a video game. It's just like, okay, I'm going to take 2 pitches, I'm going to get the count to full count, and I'm just going to hit a base hit up the middle.
You know, I was sitting on Aggies radio yesterday. I worked 8 innings with Andrew Monaco, as I mentioned before, and we had some fun just talking ball. I would call Arkansas's half innings. He would do the play-by-play in A&M's innings. And when Davilon came up, I said, hey, we've been having fun all year about the comparisons, what he looks like from a physical standpoint in addition to facially. And he thought about it for about 3 minutes, and he said, Lenny Dykstra. And I said, my goodness, you're good. You've got it. Vahiva Loya scored the lone Arkansas run here in game 2. Hard hit and fair. Over the leap of Hensler. It's going to go all the way to the corner. Davalon sprinting to third with nobody out. He'll be held there on another hit from Vahiva Loy. That is his 7th in the series.
We talked about how hot Chase Laviolette is, and again, he's on fire with the home run power, but Vahiva Loy is hitting at another level as well. Just an absolute rocket right over the outreach of Hensler, the third baseman. He almost spears this ball. You talk about close, but I think the ball was almost past him before he got that arm extended.
Troy, I don't think it's hyperbole to say in his baseball life he has never been as locked in for his entire game between defense and offense as he is right now.
How about 110 on that ball? We talked about that ball got past Hensler. That happens at 110 miles an hour.
He can't reach up and get it.
It's literally by you before you get your arm extended.
Maybe it's the haircut. I never thought of that.
He's got a little less flow than he did a season ago.
Yeah,
but
he's still got the multicolors.
The stripe is still there.
Jason Kelly out for a mound visit. This allows some activity to get going because all of a sudden he's at 94. And all of a sudden the tying runs are in scoring position. So things kind of got away somewhat quickly.
He's had a little success against Logan Maxwell, striking him out the first at bat. Maxwell got him on a base hit. But you got the left-on-left matchup in here. The Aggies got a right-hander in the bullpen. Looks like that's Luke Jackson, the right-hander, warming up for Texas A&M.
Indeed, that's the case. Lake Travis High School product, great baseball program, football. Well, here's Maxwell, singled in his last at bat. Arkansas trying to keep this train moving with nobody out in the inning. Maxwell takes one a little bit in.
I'm a little surprised that A&M is playing the corners in, especially Bender up, the first baseman, is playing almost even with the grass. I mean, that is close for a left-handed batter.
Second and third, nobody out. Maxwell torches one to left. George goes back on the sprint. He'll make the catch. Davalon will tag and score. Vahiva could not get back to third base to tag. That was drilled by Maxwell, and a really good effort by George, who was playing deep, to go to his right and track that down, and it's a one-run game. I thought off the bat that's going to be a double, but watch George go get it.
Yeah, what a great first step by George, and he just continued to just outrun that baseball as it sliced away from him. I think in game 1, with the way the wind was blowing, that would have blown that ball into the left field corner, but just not as much wind, and that's going to be it for Miles Patton. But he threw an excellent game.
96 pitches for Patton through 5 1/3 innings. He leaves with the lead, and his runner's at second base. We'll step aside, come back with a new pitcher in a moment. Well, Miles Patton, Troy, kept working in that same spot, and he kept having a lot of success.
Yeah, throwing the fastball up in the zone in the upper 80s. Again, not overpowering, but just his location was just impeccable. Mixed in the slider, cutter, threw a few change-ups in there, and again, really gave his Aggie team a chance to win this ball game. I mean, he did all you could ask out of a starting pitcher. See the 7 punch-outs right there in 7 innings, only the 1 walk. I mean, that is exceptional.
Gives way to Luke Jackson, Austin native.
Now, on the other hand, Luke Jackson's going to sit in the mid to upper 90s. He's got a big-time arm. He'll mix in a hard slider and a changeup, kind of over the top. And again, you know he's going to have a lot of carry with that fastball. Seems like that lefties have a lot more success against Luke Jackson than righties do. Lefties are hitting 350 off of him, right-handers 270.
How about the scouting report that says twitchy athlete with a fastball that can jump on hitters? So that's a little bit what we saw with that jump, at least from Patton, although from the right side.
Sometimes you hear the quick twitch is another term you hear a lot.
Kahia Waloy, I think that's a swing, and it is, whether it was on the pitch or the swing.
Yeah, you think you're going to get 98, and you get a 88-mile-an-hour slider.
Kahio drove in Vahiva in the 6-run 5th inning in the first game. Cahillo drove in Vahiva with a sac fly in the third. So his RBI total is up to 57.
You saw that last ball in the dirt. That's a nice job by Bear Harrison. And if you're Vahiva Lloyd on second base, you have got to make sure the ball goes to the backstop. You cannot make an out at third base with just one out in the inning.
Nice block by Harrison again. Last year, Cahillo with BYU led the Cougars in runs batted in with 38. He might be trending towards doubling that number. But Arkansas, after giving up 2 in the top of the inning, would love to at least get a third to even things up again. Laced to Kent. A little bit in either direction. It's a base hit and a tie game. But Kent used all of his frame to make the leaping grab for the second out. That's 2 really hard outs this frame.
Yeah, almost looks like Kent might have jumped a little early. See if he doesn't. Nope, perfect timing. My bad. Yeah, 99 off the bat, and that ball's hit hard, but you've seen Cahillo hit him harder. That's just perfect defensive positioning.
Kojal 0 for 10 so far in the series, and Cam has been so good and so consistent. I'm sure this has not been a lot of fun. It will happen in the course of the SEC. Couple of strikeouts today, but he might be happy to face Jackson, the righty, rather than Patton, the lefty. He'll fist one back and out of play.
Boy, great job by Luke Jackson to get ahead of Cam Kojal right here. That's what you want to do. Got to have the first pitch and really pounded him down and in. I think that's a wooden bat. That's in pieces.
So quickly the count 0-2. What was I saying about that same game plan?
Yeah. Go back to it.
Keep going.
Arkansas is chasing the ball up. Let's see if they do it. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't do it again right here.
So Luke Jackson from Lake Travis with a 1-2 pitch. Wave and a miss. Koschel skate 3 times. Arkansas gets a run, but still down a run. And that was Jackson coming on and extinguishing this inning.
Yeah, really good fastball by Luke Jackson. Got ahead of Kojal, went up and in. Really tied him up with that great pitch.
Today, she starts with a drive, but the real work came before. Inspired by a coach who recognized her potential. Morgan Stanley proudly supports First Tee, driving progress for the next generation.
If you're planning on all getting together, why stay in hotel rooms and not be together? Get an Airbnb and actually get together.
Oh my God, we're back again.
This is my Oaklawn.
What do you get when Zaxby's, an iconic chicken joint, applies this delicious crispy seasoning to shrimp? The collab everyone's been waiting for in a Zaxby's box. Who's got the sauce? Zaxby's.
Well, the Fighting Aggies trying to get their first win in Fayetteville since 2016. Arkansas trying to extend their home win streak in SEC play to 13 straight series. Hanging in the balance, 3-2 A&M as we go to the top of the 6th. Jimenez, who threw the 5th and gave up that homer to Laviolette, will look at 4, 5, and 6. This is Caden Sorrell, who's 0 for 2. Maybe a chance for a 1-pitch out. Thomas Jr. able to see this one. That always helps when you're trying to catch the baseball. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Yeah, the dark sky is definitely taken over. So you can definitely see the white dot in the sky instead of that faded gray one.
Well, last night we had almost 11,000. Game 1, they're treating these as 2 separate games, of course. So about 10,119 in the earlier game. So we will have a 32,000 range for 3 games and about 26 outs.
That's pretty salty on a holiday weekend.
It is. Bear Harrison was out at the plate on that throw from Davalon to end the fourth inning. Otherwise, the Aggies would have taken the lead then. But this, to me, is the real fun time of the year in this conference. You start to get these big matchups, and we know what A&M has ahead of them. I mean, they got a series at Texas next weekend. Do you think that
that could be pretty big?
It jolts the adrenaline up a little bit. Then they have LSU at home. The sacrificial lamb, Missouri, comes in for 3 games, and then they'll go to Georgia.
Yeah, that's not easy.
I mean, you're playing. I think we mentioned earlier this week that Arkansas is one of 5 teams that has been number 1. A&M's one of 5 teams.
Right.
I think A&M's playing everybody else who's been number 1 at some point, even
That's
if they're not number 1 when they face them. Pitch to Harrison, down and out. Just hasn't been a lot of separation between these teams this weekend. Jimenez nibbling on that outside corner, doesn't connect, and the count has gone full.
Yeah, those are 2 great takes. The first one 2 pitches ago was a little easier of a take. That last one, that is a very competitive pitch by Aiden Jimenez and just a better take and quality at bat right now by Bear Harrison.
3 infielders on the left side of the diamond. Harrison waiting on the payoff pitch from Jimenez. Here it comes. Line right to Kojal, and he can't find it, then he slips. Perfect positioning, but he couldn't make the play. And then I thought he had a chance maybe to pick it up and throw out Harrison, but down he went.
Yeah, that's just one of those balls that you just misread the speed off the bat, and it hits right in the palm of his glove, just ricochets out. Yeah, I think if he stays on his feet, he's going to make that play.
Because Harrison, you stop just for a split second because you think that ball's caught. Then you got to.
Yeah, see, Kojal was just completely shocked that he doesn't catch that baseball.
And then Kent, another hard swing that will be caught in left by Davalon. Davalon went into a slide to rob Caden Kent. Off the bat, I thought it might drop, but it did not, and the Hogs get the second out.
I think that play's made by Davalon playing about 2 or 3 steps in. Great effort to go in and get that baseball. That's one of those plays that you're like, you either better catch it or you better keep it in front of you.
That's right.
One way or another.
Harrison reached on the air, then Kent lines to left, and Bender up singled back in the 4th. His single was in front of Davalon, and then Davalon made the throw to the plate to cut down Harrison. That one that went to review, and I'm telling you, they'll be talking about that review on replay at all the umpiring conventions for a while.
Yeah, I think so, and it's really going to be a tough pill to swallow if A&M does not win this game.
Jimenez pumps one at the top of the zone for a called strike.
Bender up didn't like that one, but he is a tall guy in the box. I mean, he's got a big strike zone.
Lifted to center. Thomas Jr. is going to have enough room to make the catch to end the inning. So an error and a man left on base. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Iredale, Pepe, and Helfrich do up for Arkansas.
PenguinCostumes.net. What? Glad I get credit card fraud alerts from Navy Federal Credit Union. Yeah. Can't imagine where I'd be without them.
Hey, that's mine. Stop that penguin!
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
That's infected. Maybe getting a tattoo at a 3-day music festival was a bad idea. Lucky for you, an Amazon One medical virtual visit can happen anywhere. Even here. An Amazon pharmacy will deliver antibiotics right to you. So you can breathe easy. Well, sorta.
Troy, you take a look at the MLB draft prospects according to Kylie McDaniel. There's no shortage in this conference, but Fahiva up to 10. Jace Laviolette at 18. I would say that number needs to change.
I was going to say, that's a little high for Jace Laviolette.
I think he's a top 5, top 10 type guy. A lot of orange right there for all the Tennessee Volunteers. Charles Davilon, though, has been making a move in the last 2 months.
Well, he really has. But, again, Jace Laviolette is not just a big power hitter. He's a really good athlete that can run. And like I said, maybe not a true center fielder in Major League Baseball, but definitely a guy that can play on the corners and go get some balls in the gap.
Iredale singled in the second. He is struck out as well. Arkansas has 7 hits to A&M's 5, but trailing by a run.
That's just a pitch right there that you just feel like that Iredale is just a tick behind.
Just kind of that bat's kind of sliding off that pitch a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, he was squaring that baseball up earlier on the season. I mean, I know he's facing 96.
High in the air, down the line and right. Kill, going over, and out of room. One thing we saw Iredale do as well was hit balls into that net for home runs in the Arkansas bullpen. And, you know, not just pull power, but the ability to drive one out to right. You know, he just loved to get on. He'd love to get a base hit, to get another base hit today and in this game, and give Arkansas a chance to build towards tying or taking the lead.
Yeah, I agree. You just haven't seen that opposite field power as of late, or even, you know, doubles to right center field.
Behind in the count, 1-2, and that is down the chute. Strike 3 call.
Just a fastball that you just know that Iredale is thinking something else, because
he had to be,
it's on the outer third, but it's definitely not a pitch that's borderline to be called a ball.
Rocco Pepe's 0 for 2.
Pepe would like to get his first home run as a Hog.
You surprised Kendall Diggs isn't batting here?
I am a little bit. Or even maybe a Reese Robinettis. How many good at-bats he's had as of late.
And it's quickly 0-2. I tell you what, Jackson has come on and he has just been pumping.
I tell you what, he pitches at a different pace than Patton.
He does. Faster than most. And that was about 30 seconds. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. He has K'd 3 in a row as well.
Yeah, you just don't feel like either one of those at-bats were competitive, and that's just –
you can't swing at that pitch.
Yeah, no, not at 97.
Yeah, that ball's in the glove of Harrison. Two outs for Helfrich, who's both doubled and walked. And he takes one out the knees at 97 mph.
Trackman had it at 98.
Sure did.
Jackson's just going to say, hey, here comes a fastball. Can you hit it?
Big swing and a foul tip into the glove of Harrison. Jackson redshirted as a freshman in 2023. 8 appearances, a couple of starts last year, just 8 in the third innings. But obviously, they knew the arm talent. Chopper fouled outside of third base. Arkansas down a run late in this deciding game of the series. Of course, you can't help but think of quarterbacks when you talk about Lake Travis, like Baker Mayfield, for example. High in the air, playable. Should be easy for Jace. He's got it. Arkansas quietly disposed of in the 6th. Aggies maintain a 1-run lead as we go to the 7th inning. Well, we've got news, and it's not great. You see there's no activity on the field as we go to the top of the 7th inning, where we will be at a holding pattern. A&M leading 3-2. There's lightning in the area, and we knew that was a possibility about 9:30, but we're getting it at 8:30, so the team's heading for the dugout. And I think Arkansas wanted Jimenez to go another inning or so. I'm sure A&M wanted Jackson to go another inning, so we will see how long this will go. But Troy, this was in part why this game was moved from Saturday to Friday. We started this game, too, about a half an hour later than we thought because there was a little bit of precipitation in the area. It ended up not raining, and now I think we'd like to have that half hour back.
Yeah, I really think so. That could be a critical mistake by the decision makers, but I mean nobody has a crystal ball.
No.
On radar, it sure looked like it was going to have some rain, and you really don't want to start a game and then having to go into a rain delay because that really messes up pitching.
We're going to go into a rain delay in the top of the 7th. We'll be back when we know more. 3-2 Aggies. Well, the good news is the 30 minutes have passed. We're able to resume in the top of the 7th with A&M leading Arkansas 3-2 in the deciding game of the series. Jimenez won't return. Cole Gibbler is on the pitch.
Yeah, Gibbler's been really effective. You see his numbers right there. Really great strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, a guy that really fills up the zone. A wipeout slider that he'll throw about 60% of the time.
Ben Royo is going to lead things off. 8-9-1 for the Aggies, batting here in the top of the 7th.
I tell you what, there's a lot less fans here in the stands
there are.
than before the lightning strike happened.
You feel like that's advantage A&M. You don't have 11,000 on your shoulders.
It's not even half. I think it's maybe a third, maybe even a quarter.
Some fans are trying to get back to their seats. Others went for the parking lot as Gibbler misses madly. 2-0.
One thing for A&M fans, Cole Gibbler is a freshman. So you're talking about trying to come in a high leverage situation.
Aggies looking for some insurance. They've been out hit 7-5. They lead 3-2 on a couple of homers from Jace Laviolette. Gibbler, the third pitcher Arkansas has used here in the nightcap. Well, he spiked a couple. I mean, not close.
That ball almost didn't even catch the dirt in front of home plate. You know it's a short pitch whenever your catcher has to stand up to try to block it.
To play the bounce. He's ready to hit already. Got the helmet on.
I would be too. If you're swinging the bat like Jace Laviolette, just say, get the lineup turned back over again, boys.
And the 3-1 is hit in the air. Left field, well struck, and Royo is going to send one to the hog pen. Another home run, and A&M is added to its lead. Arkansas can't keep the ball in the ballpark here in game 2.
That is Royo's 6th home run on the season. Well, that was a fastball right down the chute, and Royo didn't miss it. About 107 off the bat. That is belt-high fastball. You can just see the reaction of Davalon. He took about 6 steps and knows, okay, am I going to be able to play it off the wall, ricochet off the railing out there on the other side of the fence.
385, and George fouls one back to the screen. I would imagine Jackson will come back and pitch, Troy. He was really good. He retired all 5 that he faced with 3 strikeouts, and my thought was maybe he isn't going to come out of this game. And now it's no longer a 1-run lead. It's up to 2.
Yeah, that's a big run right there for the Aggies.
I think that's a swing. Quick appeal, no, says Jeff Wright. A check from George, the 9-hole hitter. Really kind of waved that bat through the zone and tried to bring it back quickly to avoid being down 0-2. Big deep breath from Gibbler before the next pitch. Ripped to left, hit well. Davalon won't get there. takes a bounce and kicks up off the fence. And the 8 and 9 hitters have absolutely tattooed a couple of baseballs, and A&M in business here in the 7th.
Now, you talked about Jackson coming back. Well, we talked about Aiden Jimenez coming off of Tommy John, and that delay, you just didn't want to bring him back out. And that ball is absolutely smoked. Davlon looked like he had a chance to make that play, and it just had too much carry, and he couldn't cut that ball off. Arkansas's got somebody warming up in the pen.
I think you're one more batter away from having to make a change.
Well, Carson Wiggins is warming up like he's coming in the ball game. This is a delay tactic right here, definitely by Helfrich.
This is Helfrich, both providing some motivation, maybe a little bit of a gut check here to Gibbler. This is one man doing a lot of the talking. So he's stalling for time, you're right, Troy, but he's also trying to get his guy locked in.
Well, he's telling him, hey, we're still in this ball game, but it's up to you to kind of stop the bleeding right here, right now. And that's going to do it. DVH out of the dugout.
So that was a pep talk without a purpose at the end, because I don't think that man wants to allow this game to get any further away. It's been a bit of a struggle offensively, and A&M trying to win this game and win this series. Arkansas will make a pitching change. We'll be right back in the 2-run game. Here's tomorrow's featured baseball game. Number 15 Alabama, number 9 LSU. They finish up their 3-game series at the Box in Baton Rouge. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern, 5 Central on the SEC Network. Well, Arkansas has gone to the pen. Fourth pitcher of this game, it's Carson Wiggins.
Yeah, going to a different arm. This Wiggins is going to sit mid to upper 90s. Has hit 100 multiple times this season. The thing about Carson Wiggins is he's not just a thrower, but he's actually a pitcher. He can land the slider cutter as well. Kind of a two-pitch mix guy, but again, much more command than you would normally think out of a freshman flamethrower.
Going to face Terrence Kill, who singled and scored in the 5th. He scored on the 2-run homer from Lavalette. Now he's up there at least squaring, and he takes a pitch outside. Wiggins, though, you're right. He hit 102 the other day against the Georgia Bulldogs on a fastball to Robbie Burnett. According to D1 Baseball's heat sheet, pausing, here's the 1-0. That's down. Well, that's not in the zone. It topped Tennessee's Tanner Franklin, who threw one at 101.7 back in February. It's a game I saw at the College Classic. 12 pitchers have thrown a pitch of at least 100 miles an hour this season, including Fouch. But Wiggins had the fastest recorded pitch of the 2025 season.
Yeah, that was an offer right there by Keel. Trying to bunt a fastball that was probably off the plate. That was kind of a gift.
We know who's on deck. Man who's hit 4 homers in this series and 2 in this game. Really important to get it out. And there's a bunt, and Wiggins will throw a little frisbee to first. That was a low slot sidearm sling. They get the out, but A&M moves George to third base. Troy, not 1 but 2 homers in this game for the big man.
Yeah, both of them were no doubters. I mean, those balls were crushed. And again, just tremendous power to all fields. Not only a big-time power hitter, but and this is a great move by Arkansas.
Could have put him on.
You just have to. The guy is just absolutely red hot. You can't afford. You set up the double play, and you take the bat out of the hottest hitter on their team's hands.
Kind of the Caglione treatment at the end of last year when Arkansas walked him a bunch, and then when they had to face him, he hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
Doesn't get that much easier for Hensler, although it is right on right, and Hensler's 0 for 3 in this game. That was 99 outside.
Yeah, it seems like everything that Wiggins is missing is glove side. He's really kind of yanking that fastball.
Is that overthrowing or just not being fluid maybe down the mound?
I think it's overflowing and just holding that baseball on just a little bit.
So he throws the breaking ball, gets away with a miss.
Sometimes that's a good call by a catcher, is slow that arm speed down. When you have a power pitcher that's not throwing the fastball in the zone, then call the breaking pitch.
A run home this inning already. 2 more Aggies at the corners with only 1 out, the 1-1. How about a front door slider? That might have been the best pitch I've seen him throw in a while.
That was filthy. About 87-mile-an-hour cutter.
With 2,900 plus RPM. Do you throw it 3 in a row?
I do.
If there's nobody on base, you might show him that fastball up and out of the zone, but see what he does. Breaking ball, he left it up, and it's blasted to center where Thomas Jr. will make the catch, and George will tag and score, and A&M has a 5-2 lead. That was not a good 0-2 pitch, even though he gets an out.
Yeah, that was one that I think he's scared to bounce it, and that's just a great job right there by Hensler.
Because you put him in a position where with Wiggins' stuff, he had a chance to get the K, and he kind of let that roll just a bit, and you might be right, not trying to bounce it or skip it. Big RBI for Hensler. And here's Caden Sorrell, who's 0 for 3. But we know the damage he did in those first couple of weeks getting back into the lineup.
But the successful sac bunt got the runner into scoring position, and that's why he was able to score on the sac fly.
Yeah, playing for that second run of the inning, which they were able to get. So Wiggins has gone slider heavy. Each team with 7 hits, but Texas A&M leading 5-2. Boy, the wild pitches, though, this weekend have been, certainly has reached the over a long time ago.
Did you call that a wild pitch, or did you call it a pass ball?
Well,
because it was a fastball in.
I'm guessing it'll be
called
scored a wild pitch, and that's what they do, even though I see your point. They're going to put Sorrell on now. They'll go ahead and put the left-hander Sorrell on, so Arkansas really trying to work around the enforcers in this lineup, and they'll take their cracks with Bear Harrison. He's been really good in the last several weeks, but he's 0 for 2 with a walk in this game. But I guess, Troy, it sets up that right on right again.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. You've got 2 guys in Laviolette and in Sorrell that were just on fire.
Harrison has 8 home runs on the season. A&M has hit 3 homers in this game. Even a base hit, though, would be big to keep adding to this lead, and that is a strike.
I think the pitch was a strike. I think the swing was a strike.
I think it was all a strike.
There's all kinds of strikes.
You only get 1 for that, though.
Arkansas's outfield is very deep.
Wiggins pumps one down in the zone, 99 but low. Had a half-hour delay because of lightning before we got this 7th inning going, and A&M has come out and put their foot on the throat to the Razorbacks with 2 more runs and not done yet. Didn't have quite the feel on that slider.
Just didn't have the bite on that one. Arkansas has Gabe Frazier playing second base and Cam Kojal at first. Couple of things I just noticed.
2-1, cut on a missed. Came back with a slider again. Well, he's in full lather, isn't he? On a 70-degree night?
He is. Sweating up a storm for sure.
Wiggins needs one more striker now to end this seventh to get his team back in the dugout and his hitters at the plate. Harrison stands in his way. Popped up, that'll be back and out of play. Arkansas has used 4 pitchers. They've used 3 here in this last sequence to get a couple of outs. Kind of rocks to a set, delivers the 2-2. Laced to right center field, and Thomas Jr. is not going to get there. Another 2-strike hit, another run for A&M, and they've tacked on run number 6. So the intentional walks don't work as Harrison delivers.
Yeah, just a really good job by Harrison, just staying on that slider. Again, it's up in the zone. It ends up right over the heart of the plate. And this is just a veteran hitter. Took advantage. You tried to wonder if Thomas could have laid out. I just don't think there's any way he gets to that baseball.
I don't either, and this is Kent, who is the 8th Aggie to hit. And Arkansas now in danger of losing back-to-back SEC series after winning 12 straight SEC games. And Troy, getting outs at the beginning of games and at the end of the games has been an issue.
Yeah, it really has. Like you just summed it up right there. It seems like the middle of the game, Arkansas has been playing pretty solid, but had a chance to put away Georgia last weekend to win the series, couldn't do it. Really struggling right here. There's still time for Arkansas. They've got 9 outs to play with, but they can't afford to give up any more runs.
To the backstop, the wildest of wild pitches. Harrison will trot to second. Sorrell slammed on the brakes, and that was a good decision for him not to try and score because Helfrich played the carom, and Matt Hobbs has no choice but to go out. And the issue here is, if the rain delay or lightning delay didn't occur, Jimenez may have gone another inning. Then when Gibbler came on, you hope he can give you an inning. And then you start thinking about Wiggins giving the team a couple of innings. He may not get through this inning.
Yeah, it's been kind of a little bit of a mess for Arkansas after that lightning delay. You see Matt Hobbs trying to calm down his freshman. They do have some activity in the bullpen.
I mean, that is worth repeating. You've had 2 freshmen this inning and a pitcher then coming off Tommy John. But, again, my point is you're starting to think, can these guys get us through the 9th inning? Well, then you start to think, can we get through the 7th inning if you're Matt Hobbs? Were it not for the fact you've walked 2 hitters intentionally already, I might pitch around Kent, but
yeah, well, you just don't want to put bases loaded, and you have a guy that is kind of have a propensity to throw, some walks.
Correct.
And so you don't want to walk in a run. So you at least let him pitch right here with an open base.
Working from that windup at the 2-1, we found that slider again. Three runs in the bank this inning. 2 more Aggies in scoring position. Another 2-strike count on a hitter. And the pitch from Wiggins. We'll do it again. That's a big, deep breath from the freshman. Poke down the line and left. This should find the seats and will and be out of play.
Really good competitive at-bat right here by Caden Kent.
Sometimes I think we've harped on Arkansas's inability at times with 2 strikes to finish off hitters. Maybe you give credit to the hitters for refusing to be put away.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that is a swing right there by Caden Kent. Obviously defensive, but just keeping that barrel in the hitting zone for a long time.
Feels like we've been in the top of the 7th for an hour with that half-hour delay. Pop up, but even on the windless night now after the delay, that one's going to carry back on top of the roof.
Again, Kent just absolutely battling, spoiling pitcher's pitches, trying to find a mistake.
Kent with a pop-up on the infield. Talked about 2 new infielders. Kojal's going to come on and called off Frazier and make the catch. But big frame for A&M, and Troy Benroyo started it.
Yeah, really good swing. Home run number 6 by Benroyo. Big lead for A&M, 6-2.
Well, here comes the rain. And Arkansas down 6-2 in the bottom of the 7th. Troy, it's interesting for Jackson. He has faced 5 batters. He's retired all 5. He's been dominant, 3 strikeouts. He had to sit for the half-hour lightning delay, and then it felt like a half-hour top of the 7th.
It's been a while since he's been out there. Arkansas is going to pinch hit Kendall Diggs right here, trying to get some lefties against the right-handed throwing Jackson.
Kendall will pinch hit. He did the same thing a night ago when he pinch hit in the 9th and hit a sharp single into center. You know, Arkansas is in a position where they're going to have to try and pull something off similar to what A&M did against South Carolina on Sunday, even though they were down 10 and came back for the win. Didn't hit 1 grand slam in the 9th. They hit 2. It was Schott and Kent, 2 grand slams to win the game, and I felt like they've been kind of riding that momentum since. As Diggs fouls one back, Arkansas cooled them off a bit in game 1 of this twin bill, 11-5, but I've said it many times, it feels like doubleheaders are kind of meant to split.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Reason why DVH made that move, left-handers hitting 350 off Jackson. Righty's only 270.
If you're Jackson, you're thinking, you know, I wasn't happy sitting around. I like the runs, but now I got a little bit of moisture too, so
yeah.
I've got to find the grip of the baseball. Fouled back.
He does not waste any time in between pitches.
I don't blame him. I think pitchers that have good stuff and work fast really have the hitters on their heels.
Yeah, totally agree.
Wave and a miss. Another belt high pitch. Some life in that Aggies dugout. They're trying to go to 8-10 in SEC play.
Looks like Jackson pulled the string on Diggs right there. Nope. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 95.
Yeah, that was some heat. Heat up again, elevated between the belt and the letters.
Very common theme for Aggie pitching.
And then that's painted at the knees. Good pitch to Davalon, who's got a couple of hits. Arkansas has been out hit 8-7 now, and Davalon has 2 of the 7 hits, and that rain coming down a little bit harder. And you know, 9:30 was kind of the witching hour. That's hit well to center, but Laviolette will run it down. So a well-struck ball, but an out. Two quick outs in the 7th inning, and I would say 9:30 was about right.
Yep.
The rain.
It'll be interesting to see how the infield on a ground ball, how they get the grip and try to throw the ball across the diamond.
DeHiva singled and doubled. Little chopper to third, fielded by Hensler. That was another nice frame from Jackson. He has not given up a single thing. He's retired all 7 he's faced in shortening this game. All Texas has done in the SEC is keep right on winning, and A&M is in a stretch where they're trying to go through a really nice stretch. That's going to be an epic matchup next weekend in Austin. Then they got LSU at home, and you got to feel like that's a lot of wins there in that Missouri set before they go to Georgia. So this, to my mind, Troy, and I said it a couple of days ago, I know for a while they were seriously on the bubble, maybe outside looking in for a regional. I have no lack of confidence that they will truly be in, and they will be a dangerous 3 seed if that's what they are.
You know what? The way they're playing right now, they may be a 2 seed. You may blink, and the next thing you know,
because that RPI is going to keep climbing.
It's going to keep climbing.
New pitcher for the Razorbacks. They can't find somebody right now to kind of give them a little bit of a boost. And I know the conditions aren't great, but Christian Fauch comes on pitching last night.
Yeah, they're just trying to find somebody to have a clean inning, and that you cannot afford to give up any more runs. 4 is, it seems pretty daunting at this time, the way that Luke Jackson's pitching. But talk another guy with electric stuff. This is Christian Fauch. He's going to hit triple digits, and he's got a splitter that if he can throw for a strike, nobody can hit it.
Didn't face Bender up last night. Well, he sawed him off, didn't he? And he will catch the bobble. Bender up wasn't running, so he could have dropped it and picked it up, but that's a nervous feeling if you're Christian Fouch.
I don't know how many basket catches Christian Fouch has made in his career, but this may be the first.
You know, you're worried if you drop it and then you kind of kick it into foul territory where all of a sudden you got to go chase. And weren't you the one that said pitchers are athletes too?
I think some of them are.
Okay. The qualifying statement. Ben Royo, though, has one of the big swings in this game when he homered after that half-hour lightning delay off Gibbler. He turned a 3-2 tight game into a 4-2 game, and before the frame was over, it'd be 6-2.
How about a guy with 18 hits on the season? 6 of them are homers.
Sure are. He was no interest in swinging right there. Was going to take.
To get me over 98-mile-an-hour fastball by Fouch. Actually 99 on TrackMan.
You know, Royo was at Rice, and then he transferred to A&M, and Rice has gone through a coaching change mid-season. It's not been a good year for the Owls on South Main, and he finds himself getting quality playing time in the SEC. Fouch throwing some heat. That fouled into the glove of Helfrich. You can hear the raindrops coming down in our crowd mic. Of course, if he has a perfect inning, he doesn't have to face Keel, Laviolette, and Hensler until the 9th. Concourse is a popular place right now.
It's starting to come down a little bit heavier.
Yes, it is. Pause before the 2-2. That's painted, strike 3. 100 mph. See if this was right at the belt or maybe a little bit above.
I think that's a strike.
Good enough, right?
Yeah.
I would say when the raindrops come down, that strike zone might get expanded a bit, and both hitters, both sides, need to sort of be aware.
Ready.
Yep. Well, George had a double off Gibbler after Royo homered in the 7th, and he would later score on a sac fly from Hensler.
That is your 8 and 9 hole, really producing when A&M needed some spark somewhere.
You know, we talk about this Arkansas lineup and the length and how 7, 8, and 9 can really do some damage. If you start to get production out of 7, 8, and 9 here for A&M, and then you turn it over for Kill and Laviolette and Hensler and Sorrell, that's when their lineup lengthens. See if this one stays in play. I think Kozel might have an opportunity, although he gets to the railing and it's about 4 rows deep. He plays it on the carom. Does that count?
Maybe in the backyard wiffle ball game, but maybe not tonight.
Well, somebody's happy. They're the happiest people in the building wearing a hog on their shirt. Kozel flipped it to him after he caught the carom. Nothing and 2 the count to George.
Let's see if Fouch doesn't try to throw a splitter right here.
Threw a few of those last night, of course. Rocks to a set, drops that glove to the belt, and the 2-strike pitch. Well, he yanked that one. That was interesting, Troy. Everything about that pitch, both the result and the fact that it was about 5 miles an hour off his normal velo.
Sometimes when you try to overthrow, you throw it slower than if you just let your mechanics work.
Almost like that ball kind of either stuck in that hand or that grip didn't quite have the lucid, free feeling. Throw the splitting. He gets the K. Fouch has a nice 8th inning. Arkansas has some work to do, however. Down by 4, playing in the rain. The formula to winning in the SEC is when you can build a lead. Certainly when you're on the road, but you can get ahead of a team. And then you lean in to your A team, your relievers, to finish games off. Even if you have to throw a few more pitches than maybe you anticipate. I think Moss threw 67 yesterday. He was fantastic. And Jackson, to me, has been equally as good, maybe even better.
Yeah, I think so. Moss really leaned on the changeup. Luke Jackson's just throwing the fastball up in the zone. It's just having some serious carry. And I'll tell you what he is doing, too. He's pitching ahead of these Arkansas hitters.
Not messing around.
No, he is like, okay, I've got a lead. I'm going to throw it over the plate, and you're going to have to hit it.
3, 4, and 5 due up with Arkansas down by 4 runs.
How about jumping out to 0-2?
In a blink.
Yeah. Fastball at the knees, foul ball.
Still been economical on that pitch count, even with that long wait in the middle. Roller to the right side. Arroyo back on the grass, able to have enough time to make sure that he didn't slip. Throws out Maxwell. Arkansas has 5 outs with which to work.
When you're down by 4, you've got to get some guys on. You've got to find a way, some way, somehow to get some cricket home runs.
Cujillo hit a line drive that was speared by Kent at short back in the 5th. He'll hit a sharp ground ball that'll just eat up Kent, and that was hit at 109. So even though that's a play you assume he's going to make, it wouldn't stun me if that was a base hit because that was torched.
That thing just, it had a kick that just really, its second hop just exploded. I mean, the cameraman can barely keep up with it.
That's a really good defensive shortstop.
I know, and that's you really feel for Caden Kent on that play right there.
It will
because that's a missile.
Cujillo had a line drive that Kent speared in the 5th. Otherwise, if it carries over his head, it produced a run and would have tied the game.
Yeah, I think that was a huge momentum shift when Kent caught that line drive of Cujillo Aloy. Kozier would love to get his first hit of the series right here.
3 Ks today, which has not been like what Cam has done on such a consistent level. But Arkansas has their first base runner against Jackson. Pumps in a pitch at 94 mph.
Again, that wasn't just right down the middle. That was a fastball in the outer third. If you're 1 ball, no strikes, that's probably a pitch you don't swing at if you're Cam Kozier.
Fouled back and out of play to the left.
You've seen the guys that have been struggling this weekend for Arkansas, the Iredales, the Koziels. When they get the pitch to hit, they're just not squaring it up. They're just fouling them off.
Seen a lot of that, haven't we?
A lot.
Long pause before the 1-2 pitch. High in the air to left center. Laviolette will chase away Georgia, make the catch for the second out. You know, I was going back over my notes from when we talked to Michael Early right at the beginning of March before the College Classic. And this was coming off the injury to Grahovic when they knew he was out for the year and Sorrell was going to be down for a while. And all he said that day, my note says, real crap day, is what he told me. And then he said, you know, we have a target. People can smell blood in the water. They were the #1 team at that time.
Right.
And he said people can see the chink in our armor, that we aren't invisible, that people can come in and get some wins against us. And Iredale will take one down and out. They've kind of flipped that script to where they're coming in to face a team second of the country, and they're saying, we see some blood in the water.
Yeah, I think so. We've seen some pitching that's been scuffling a little bit. And, boy, the power for the Aggies have just really come through this weekend. The home runs have just been in key situations.
Home runs to put a team in front or to extend the lead. 2-0 to Iredale. Struck out a couple of times and singled and takes one down the chute. 94 is right in that velocity range on the gun where Jackson's been working. Iredale strokes one into left for a base hit. So that's the first hit given up by Jackson. And because of that previous error, Arkansas has a couple of base runners. They still need one more base runner to bring the tying run to the plate.
Really good swing by Iredale. Stayed with that pitch after taking the fastball right down the chute. You see Caden Kent try to climb the ladder and get it. I don't know what his vertical was, but he was up there pretty good. And now Arkansas's got the freshman Gabe Frazier, and it's going to bring out pitching coach Jack Kelly to talk to his right-hander.
I thought when the rain started about 10 minutes ago, we were really in for it. And while it's still not ideal, there's a little bit of pause in the nonsense from Mother Nature. But if I'm Coach Kelly, I also don't want to stand out there and tempt it again to come down.
Yeah, I think we've got a little bit of a window right here for about the next hour and a half or
All
so.
right. I'm trusting you, Troy. And when I give you that responsibility,
take it seriously, right?
Well, yes, because quite frankly, it makes me a little bit nervous.
I think if you're Gabe Frazier right here, you've got to be aggressive for the fastball down in the zone. It's going to be tough to catch up the one that's up over the belt.
What has TVH said? He plays with his hair on fire. He can't keep that helmet on when he's running up the bases. He'll want to swing.
Yeah, that's the pitch right there. He was just a little bit late. A 94 on that last fastball.
When he came to the plate in the Georgia series, they had an organist, and one time up they played the theme song from the TV show Frasier, and then they played one from Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, that's classic.
It was good stuff if you were paying attention to the subplot from the main portion of the program. 1-1 the count to Frazier in his first at bat today.
He's hit one home run on the year, but it was a big 3-run homer.
Grand slam.
Oh, excuse me, that was a grand slam. That's right.
He went 0 for 4 yesterday with 4 ground ball outs. He did not get cheated. In fact, all 4 times he hit the ball on the ground to his counterpart at second base. Even a base hit would certainly help the cause, or a ball in the gap, although I don't think Iredale could score. But Jackson would love to win the inning. Misses up and out.
I'll tell you what you don't want to do if you're Jackson. You don't want to get this to be a full count where Aloy and Iredale are on the move. Then a ball in the gap will definitely score Iredale. So this is a big pitch right here.
Frazier with a swing and a foul out of the glove of Harrison. New set of baseballs for David Savage, our plate umpire. Michael Early trying to get his pitcher through this 8th inning. Michael told me earlier in the year he was coaching his younger son's basketball team on Mondays and Wednesdays. So in addition to coaching in the SEC, he was coaching his basketball team. And he said, listen, I'll give you a few bucks if you get on the floor, right? I mean, he's from Indiana, so they love their hoops in Indiana. But $5 if you're on the floor. If you foul out, you get 10, I think.
Oh, there you go. Got to be aggressive.
Got to be an enforcer. Well, he wants Jackson to be the enforcer right here. And then they're sitting with a couple of guys on base. And Frazier hanging tough.
This is just basically raw power versus raw power.
He has a pitch to work with because it's 2-2 to maybe mix it a breaking ball off the fastballs he has challenged Frazier with.
It seems like Frazier's been a little late, so you don't want to speed up that bat with a breaking
Understood.
ball right here.
Well, he gets one in the outside corner for strike 3. Case Frazier, Arkansas leaves a pair. Aggies maintain a 4-run lead as we go to the 9th. Troy, tell you what, this series has been the Jace Laviolette show.
Well, it really has. You talk about a guy that just put this team on his back. 4 long balls, all of them no doubters. And again, he is just one of the most dangerous hitters in all of college baseball. Not only does he hit for power, but he also hits for average as well.
He does. And one thing, his coach told me early in the year that care can be his biggest strength and weakness. Well, that might mean that you're feeling a little bit of pressure, whether it's to be the top picker, to carry a team. As Kill leads off the 9th against Fouch, I would say he has settled in now.
I think so. it definitely helps him to have some of those other big boppers in the lineup.
There's no doubt.
Really, he doesn't feel like if he doesn't hit a home run one at bat, that somebody else can pick up that slack.
Chopper up the middle. Aloy gliding to his left, throwing on the run. That's a difficult play that he makes look easy to begin the 9th inning.
And you've got a really fast runner in Keel getting down that line in a hurry.
I think the other thing that was going on when A&M, when they were not quite sharp defensively, they weren't homering. Their big bats weren't covering up some of their mistakes.
Right.
And that can be done from time to time. Right now, Arkansas's mistakes are kind of overwhelming some of their intermittent swings, which was not the case a week or two ago. But Laviolette has a chance to homer for the 5th time this series. He homered against Fouch last night.
It'll be interesting to see if Fouch throws Laviolette a fastball. You might see a steady diet of splitters. I think that was the first one right there.
I think you're right.
It's like if you walk him, but it's a pitch. If he can throw for a strike, it's almost unhittable.
That is going to be a swing. It's quite the focusing routine that Jace goes through. He's going to stare at his bat here in a second. He takes this bat, and he just looks a hole right through it as he takes a deep breath. It's obviously just that pre-pitch routine of his. There might be kids in Katy, Texas or Aggie land that'll be doing that in Little League from here on out.
Yeah. How much time do I have in between pitches?
You're playing for the 12, the youth organization. You're just staring at that bat and hoping that you can conjure up the same juice that Jace can. Aggies looking to add to this 4-run lead, finish off this series win. And the count 3-1. Arkansas has used Beidelshees, Jimenez, Gibbler, Wiggins, and Fouch. And normally you'd roll the dice with that quintet and say, I'll take my chances. Aggies have gotten the better of them today.
Looks like they've got Fisher and McIntyre warming in the bullpen right now.
It's well placed on the outside corner with the splitter. It's hard to place that splitter.
Well, how about 716 spin rate? We've seen Fouch throw a splitter up over 3,000. We've seen it. That's the lowest.
I think it's got to be the lowest. I've seen a couple of 800s, and you look like, was that pitch even moving? Were there any revolutions to it? Payoff is in, ball 4. That was a competitive battle. Fans, those that have stuck around, a little bit feisty.
They still are, absolutely.
Brings up Wyatt Hensler. Get a sac fly in that 3-run 7th. I tell you what, it's weird to be finishing a series on a Friday.
It just doesn't seem right, does it?
I tell you what, yesterday was Friday. Today is Saturday. I'm going to either have 2 Fridays or 2 Saturdays this week. And Hensler hits a little soft blooper that will carry into the screen above the Razorback dugout. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to wake up tomorrow and trying to play their second game of the weekend, and Arkansas and A&M will be done. And if you're A&M, again, if you win this series and they're trending in that direction, you get a couple of extra days then before you build back for that big one next weekend.
Yeah, I think so. That's really big for them. Get home, catch your breath a little bit, kind of heal up.
Tell you what, that man at first might want to keep on playing, though. Punched it to right, a base hit. Hits keep on coming for A&M. Laviolette will stop at second. And now Caden Sorrell, the cleanup hitter, will bat. But it won't be against Fouch. Arkansas has used 5 pitchers, and it's about to be number 6, a half dozen. Again, trying to find somebody to cool off these A&M bats. And that has been tough here in game 2 of this doubleheader. Game 3 of the series. We'll step aside, come back with a new pitcher right after this. Troy, this was an interesting portion of the schedule with A&M in Florida because we've talked all year about the fact that their records probably aren't as good as their talent. And A&M's about to take this series, and then That one at Florida next weekend is dicey as well. And then, boy, it really gets into that stretch of two of the bluest blue bloods in Texas and LSU and the defending national champions.
Yeah, those are the gauntlets. So you really feel if you drop this weekend series against the Aggies, it almost puts a lot of pressure to go down and
Sure
sweep
does.
Florida. And Florida's a good team. They've been battling some injuries, but you feel like that they can really turn things around. And Arkansas is going to go to get the left-on-left matchup with Colin Fisher going up against Caden Sorrell.
Fisher threw a couple of scoreless innings against UAPB, but prior to that he pitched against Arkansas State. The last time he pitched in an SEC game, well, I should say the only time is tonight. Beg your pardon, there was one. I thought there was one. March 16th at Ole Miss, he gave up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Caden Sorrell, the batter. A couple of flyouts and a lineout, and an intentional walk for Sorrell. Been a big part of this turnaround, just having him back, certainly his production, but even on days when he hasn't produced like today, that's still a threat in the middle of this lineup. Runners are going to go. Throw to third. Wasn't in time. Iredale was trying to scramble to the bag, and the throw hit Laviolette.
I was looking at the runner at first base, and I was thinking, man, he has got a huge lead over there in Hemsler, and that's why he was trying to follow off the heels of Laviolette, and Arkansas is going to bring the infield in right now. They have to.
I think you have to. 2-strike pitch. Little dribbler up that third base line, and it'll go foul. What A&M did last night was kind of play add-on. You know, they got the run in the 9th inning to make it 7-4 rather than 6-4, which took some of the steam. Arkansas did bring the tying run to the plate in the 9th, but they were down 3. And even though Arkansas won by 6 in the first game today, what they've done is take the lead and then score 3 in the 7th. Couple of base runners in scoring position here in the 9th. Fisher could really use a strikeout. And that ball hooked down the line in right. It's fair, and it's into the corner. So Sorrell is going to knock in a pair, and A&M is now putting it to the Razorbacks. It's an 8-2 game. 2 strike hits and finishing off hitters has been a challenge against this lineup all weekend long.
Yeah, that is just a hanging breaking ball that Caden Sorrell doesn't miss it. He just flips this one. Look what this is going to end up belt high right over the dish. Yeah, just hook that ball down the corner. That's 2 easy RBIs, and boy, that just feels like a dagger in the heart of the Hogs.
So 1 batter for Fisher, and that's it. DVH going right back to the bullpen. A&M adding to its lead, 8-2 here in the top of the 9th. I could use one of those yards of beer the gentleman in that red shirt has. Can I get one? Hey, 5 ranked teams highlight our SEC Network softball triple header tomorrow. We start with number 20 Ole Miss and number 23 Georgia at noon. That's Eastern time. Then 4th ranked Oklahoma hosts number 15 Mississippi State. We cap the afternoon with number 1 Texas A&M taking on Missouri at 4 Eastern, 3 Central. So, Will McIntyre on to pitch. This is pitcher number 7.
It really feels like a lot, and Will McIntyre's been super consistent over his career, just his ability to fill up the strike zone, and he'll throw the fastball in and the cutter away, and that's pretty much the 2-pitch mix you get out of Will McIntyre.
Bear Harrison got an RBI and a base hit in the 7th. You know, one thing I don't believe everyone agrees with on the concept of pitching, and this ball is going to be able to play. A long time ago, I had a pitching coach in the minors that was big on staff rhythm. In other words, when someone has success, the next pitcher comes in, he wants to build on it, he wants to equal or surpass the previous pitcher. And all of a sudden, you start to get some good starts. It's followed up by some relief appearances, and it carries over. I think staff rhythm can also work in another direction, too.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's almost the same thing you hear about, lineups when you have one guy that's struggling and the next guy feels like that he's got to, pick it up and maybe press a little bit more, And I think you're right. I think that bleeds over to pitching as well. One guy's like, okay, the guy before me didn't slam the door, then I've got to be really fine. And
you come into the game, there's runners on base, and all of a sudden, and I will say the one thing I think A&M has done for the most part all 3 games, but certainly in their 2 wins, is just put pressure on these pitchers. And it's been 2 strike hits, and it's been working your way back into account if you fall behind, or work yourself ahead and then look to do damage.
And it really hasn't been a lot of free passes. We've had a couple intentional walks in this game, but it's just good quality at bats of just grinding them out and waiting for a mistake, and then when they get one, they capitalize on it.
As Harrison's fouled off several in this sequence, Arkansas got the first out of the inning, and it's been about 20 minutes since with a couple of pitching changes. Those radio guys, by the way, for Arkansas. Phil started his show at 11 a.m. He did the 3-hour show up until the first game. They kept it for an hour and a half between games because they don't want to send it back to the affiliates. They thought it was going to be an hour. Line drive caught by Vahiva Aloy again. There was a little bit of snow cone in that glove. But if it's in his vicinity, he's going to make a play one way or another.
How about 105 off the bat of Bear Harrison? That was a bullet out there, and looks like Vahiva caught this in the palm, and it almost creeped itself out into that webbing.
But Phil's been talking since the 11 a.m. and his 10 p.m. They kept it for an hour and a half between games. And I went in just to stir the pot and make sure that they were still going, like the Jerry Lewis telethon for us old people. And Caden Kent takes one outside. And they're still rolling. And the best part is they've got a 45-minute postgame show after whenever this game ends. There they are, Phil and Bubba. Bubba's on his phone. Phil's been talking for the better part of this entire Good Friday. And Kent takes a strike.
That is some dedication, and I'm not sure what you talk about for that many hours.
No, I'm not sure. They're professionals, but right now Phil has wearing the countenance of a 11-hour day on the radio. 11 hours. He's going to make it 12 before this is over.
That is, he's earning every cent he makes today.
Whatever Learfield is paying Phil today, it's not enough. Let's get him a raise. 2-1 to Kent. I got a little bit of Zach Root in me, too. He goes down and teases the Aloy brothers, stirs it up.
Stirs it up.
Two balls, 2 strikes to Kent. There's Zach. These teams trying to complete 3 games in about 27 hours. Although this may never end. Count's gone full.
Yeah, since the lightning delay, this game has just been dragging along.
Here's a payoff pitch to Kent. He just gets one base hit after another. It's going to dump in center. Sorrell home to score. That is the 9th run for Texas A&M. Troy, he began this game 11 for his last 19, and he's gone 2 for 4 again on top of that.
Yeah, he is just feeling at the plate. And when you see guys hit line drives right back up the middle, I mean, that is taking batting practice into the game situation. That's what you try to do, just base hits right back through the box.
Bender up now will bat. 9 runs on 11 hits for Texas A&M.
Not too long ago, you felt like that A&M had, I think, 3 runs on 2 hits? 5 hits maybe?
Arkansas has had 7 pitchers. 6 have had at least a run scored against him, and the 7th is McIntyre, who gave up that hit. He's responsible for Ken at first. I said it when I ran off those pitchers' names. You'll go to battle with that crew a lot, but every single one of them has given up at least a run.
Yeah, just super consistent for this Aggie lineup tonight.
Really a closed wide stance there for Benderup. He's going to pop one in the gap to right center field. Thomas Jr. on the move will get there. And that will end it. That is Davalon who shifted over to center. Arkansas has plenty of work to do. A 1-1 game into the 5th, and the Aggies have put the hammer down since. 7-run lead.
Yeah, they really have. And credit to the Aggie lineup. And it's just been 1 through 9 that's done damage. I think if you're Ryder Helfrich, if you get a good pitch early on in the count when you're down this far, don't dig yourself into 0-1, 0-2. You just got to go up there and start being aggressive.
There you go. Helfrich will pop one up, backing out of play.
Because that first pitch might be the best pitch you have.
What Jackson has done. He has recorded 11 outs on 49 pitches coming into this inning.
That's been super economical.
11 outs on 49 pitches. Helfrich tattoos one by a diving Kent, so Ryder gets his second hit in 3 at-bats, and Hogs have their leadoff runner on base to begin the bottom of the 9th, but again, it is a steep hill to climb, and Mom's got that one captured. You know, she maintains that recording even when he gets on first base. You know, once the hit's off, the ball's off the bat and into the outfield, I'm kind of done, but she keeps on going.
Yeah, she's locked in. 7-run deficit, she's still locked in.
Yeah, that's some dedication. Kendall Diggs pinch hit in the 7th inning, and then he stayed in to play left as Davalon moved to center.
See, it's been 52 pitches by Luke Jackson, and he has been, you can see he's getting a lot of high fives and handshakes and pats on the back because his teammates know what a great job he's done.
Yeah, fantastic job. Weston Moss, and they had very different stuff and style, but you could see where they're really good compliments, pitching with leads to finish off games or at least shorten them. We'll be right back with the new Aggies pitcher. Well, the bullpen, Weston Moss was really good, helping A&M win game 1. And Jackson has been really impressive as well through 3 2/3 innings, responsible for Ryder Helfrich at first base. New pitcher, and I got to believe this means something to Caden Wilson from Raymore, Missouri, Raymore Peculiar High School. There aren't a ton of fans left, but I got to believe got some family members here pretty excited to see him pitch a little bit closer to home.
Yeah, I think so. Raymore Peculiar is in the Kansas City area. You see the numbers on Wilson, really good strikeout to walk ratio. He's got a really good arm. He's going to sit 93 to 96 with that fastball. Throws a slider and a changeup as well. Straight over the top and really good against lefties. And so that's why Arkansas is going to pinch hit right here and go get Kendall Diggs. And looks like they're going to bat Carson Bowles.
So Bowles got the start in the first game today, batting 3-hole. Single and RBI, a run scored. Arkansas has plenty of work to do. Aggies need 3 wins to split the doubleheader but win the series. Wasn't that long ago that they were no hit and really embarrassed in game 1 of a series at Tennessee. It wasn't just that they were no hit in Knoxville. They lost 10-0. They came back the next day. They hit 11 homers. They won the doubleheader. They won the series. Then they go home, take care of Sam Houston, sweep South Carolina, including overcoming a 10-run deficit on Sunday, dispose of Tarleton, and come to Arkansas and win 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that's getting locked in and turn the ship around in a hurry.
High to Bowles.
Talked about Wilson's success against lefties. Lefties only hitting 200 against him, but righties hitting 273, so big percentage difference.
Closes off that stance and delivers a 2-1 pitch. Low it in. Outfield as straight away as they can be against Carson Bowles. Healthy wave and a miss. For Wilson, last year he appeared in 10 games in his freshman season. He 11 innings, but 15 strikeouts. Number 3 left-hander in the state of Missouri by PG, coming out of the high school ranks. That's just a little bit in, ball 4. His brother Kyle spent 6 years in the Mets organization, and his father played college baseball at Southern Illinois and then professionally in the Baltimore Orioles organization. It's the family biz.
Yeah, some good lineage right there. But I tell you what, if any team knows that a crazy comeback is possible, it's the Aggies. After coming back and hitting 2 grand slams
in the ninth inning.
In the ninth inning, yeah.
2 more hits for Davalon as he takes a strike. If Arkansas can put a little pressure on Wilson, they will really be looking back at that 3-run ninth inning that seemingly put this game out of reach and may have done so. Still need 3 more outs, however. Hit in the air to left center. This should be the first out. Laviolette just gliding into the gap to make the catch and plays it back in for the first out in the ninth inning. Arkansas has 2 remaining.
Yeah, the base runners for Arkansas, you're just station to station. When you're down 7, that 1 run doesn't mean anything. So you just got to make sure that you don't make any kind of a base running mistake. Can't afford to give away any runs, any outs this inning.
Vahiva Loy has had a couple of hits in game 2 of this doubleheader. Stephen Schock is a colorful guy on social media, on Twitter, who covers college baseball. Remember him from his playing days, and he's always tweeting out highlights from various games. But he retweeted the home run from Malloy earlier, and he said, just a reminder that the people in the hog pen should be wearing helmets when he's batting.
That's awesome. Safety first.
Wave it a miss. He's down 0-2. That was on the 448-foot home run that I think TrackMan just finally gave up on.
I think so.
Remember, they did the same thing on this homer Sunday in the ninth inning against Georgia. It just gave up when it got to the batter's eye and went over. Incomplete data. Chopper to third. I thought Hensler might take it to the bag, but he'll make that play. On a dewy, wet night, I thought he'd take the sure out because it wasn't a double play bouncer, but he gets Aloy, and Arkansas down to its final out. You know, Arkansas has 2 games next week, weather permitting, against Little Rock on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll have the Tuesday game, the network on Wednesday for some reason. And I would say, Troy, that teams get a little bit irritated by playing 2 games midweek when you're in the middle of battles on each weekend of the SEC. And Maxwell, the batter. Because Arkansas is not going to play on Saturday and Sunday, and because they've not played well for a while, I think those 2 games might come in handy.
I totally agree. You want to try to right the ship and
want
Little
to click again.
Yeah, Little Rock, I think they went down and beat Ole Miss.
They did.
So they are not going to be a rollover.
It will not be, and there will be 2 games, so you got to figure out how to get your pitching in. You're going to throw a lot of guys, and you're going to throw some with the intent of getting right.
That's right.
Meanwhile, Michael Early has that big series next weekend. You think the Schlossnagel Early A&M?
Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. A few storylines for you. Wave and a miss. That's the game. A&M wins at 9-2. They split the doubleheader, but they take the series, their first series win in Fayetteville since 2016.
Yeah, just a great weekend for the Aggies. Again, this is a team that has really ridden the ship. You talk about doing a complete 180. That's what they've done. They've done it with some hot bats, some very timely hitting, 1 through 9, and just some pitching that's been really good, especially the bullpen this weekend here in Fayetteville.
Jace Laviolette, big part of the show today for Texas A&M. We'll have the game 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central on SEC Network Plus on Tuesday. So for Troy and our entire Overwork crew, I'm Brett Dolan, thanking you for tuning in. Once again, our final score, there's the fire from Michael Early. Aggies win the series. They take the finale 9-2. So long, everyone.